Hey, good morning, folks. Merry Christmas. Oh, hold on. Hey, folks. Good morning. Merry Christmas. More like afternoon here. Part 2 of the Ohio road trip live stream. All right. It's going to be a 4-hour ride. Get your seatbelts on and, yeah, Merry Christmas. Let me just plug in my GPS coordinates here. Oh, 3 hours, 41 minutes, 233 miles. Not bad. What's up, sunshine? Let's go. That is correct. We are live. Good morning, looking relaxed. Yep, I am relaxed. Oh, look, I think there's a crash here, folks. All right, breaking news. We got a crash in Ohio. I don't know what happened here. 2-car crash. Wow, that looks bad. Well, I'm not about to stop and record them because, you know, we got places to be. And I'm not about to start in LLN, Ohio. This is a nice downhill right here. And I used to drop me off right here. Right, my boss. Yeah. I had to walk down this entire hill just to go home. Oh, there's the cop showing up. Well, it's day after Christmas. You see how this guy's like walking here? That used to be me. You see my old high school?
Yeah, sure.
You see my church? I already got confirmed. Did I get confirmed? Bar. City Murals. Home of D. Martin, by the way. I guess it used to look like that, right? Small town. Small little old town down here. A lot of history. I just seen the main street. The main street is North 4th Street. Yeah, I think Arby's used to be there. We used to go there after school. I hear a motorcycle. to the what is that Christmas village place and the Fort Steuben?
Yeah.
I wonder if it's still there, or just what they're doing this year. You know. Oh, you know that you see that bridge over there? You can walk across that bridge. You know. Did you know that?
Nope.
I feel better about driving after yesterday.
That's good.
Yesterday was crazy. You're in Sydney, Ohio, nice town. Never heard of Sydney, Ohio. Ambulance. I wonder if they're going to that crash. But that's Minko Junction Fire Department. Great weather, good time for road trip. Oh, that's good to know. A lot of factories over here. Look at which movie they had. I think the neighboring town, which is I think Weirden or something. Was it Wall-E? No, it was iRobot or I don't know. Forget that giant robot movie. Remember?
iRobot?
Yeah.
Like what giant robot? Like the...
It had something to do with like rockets. 5:30. 5:30. Yeah, just do the video call with Papa. We are en route to Christians. Can you edit this?
Edit it?
Yeah, I got some typos in there. It's warm for the time of year. Broad sun on Central High, 60 miles north of Columbus. Ah, okay. Time for some music. up, Jersey girl? Merry Christmas. What's up, Sean? How you doing? Someone asked if I am from Ohio. Yeah. That's where I grew up.
Started slow, when it started rain. Started slow, when it lost pain. Started slow, when it none. The moment we accelerate, the moment we accelerate.
I don't know the lyrics to that song, but it's a pretty good song. 3 hours more to go. 202 miles. Safety corridor. Distracted driving. Not tolerated. There's some stores over here. Eden Park, Red Lobster, Lowe's, Walmart. Gotta love Wally World. Shout out to Walmart. Any Walmart fans out there? Pet Supplies Plus. You can't get more American than these American chains. Staples. Buffalo Wild Wings. Yep. Passing St. Clairsville. been to Troy. Where's Troy at? What's up, Jason? By the way, Jason caught the, I think it was fatal, right? Fatal fire with the Christmas tree that caused the fire. Now I wonder if the Christmas tree was inside the house or outside the house. I'm sure Jason's gonna tell you all about it. You can check out that video on his channel, by the way. LLN Philly. LLN Philly.
Trying to justify yourself so you can live with Sammy the rest of your life? Is that what you need for you to say, I didn't know you wrong, but you know me? Like,
we're live on YouTube and Instagram, and everyone can hear and see. Everybody can hear and see. Show of hands. But anyway, yeah, you can see it. And let me tell you what this is all about.
to follow the path? Was it Pistone? Was it Giuliani? Was it Malachi? Was it Tommaso Buscetta? Was it arrogance? Was it not staying low key? Was it Joe Bonanno's book? What was it that caused the fall of the money?
When when I went to prison and they were doing the editing job, they hired another producer to help finish the post-production on it. And this producer had a different vision of the film that we shot, and he cut Sammy Davis out of the film. How do you cut Sammy Davis Jr. out of the film? I was in prison already. When I got out, I did go visit that producer, but unfortunately, he was in really bad health when I finally got home. Needless to say, my words with me were very brief.
This guy is driving off the road over here. You guys see this car in front of us? Why is he driving off the road? What's going on? Is he falling asleep? Is he texting and driving? What's going on over here? Look at this guy. Look at this guy. What are you doing? What are you doing over here, huh? I don't know about this guy. Look at him. Look at him. Look at him. I think the best thing to do at this point is to not, if he crashes and I have to crash into him, we don't want that, right? The best thing to do is to pass him up and hopefully he doesn't get too close to us once we're ahead of him, right? I think this pickup truck is kind of cautious to even pass him up here because of, you know, he's swaying back and forth. Look at him. He's about to crash into the rails. Look at this guy. Look at what he's doing. Wow, he just went off the road. Now this car that's going behind him, he's gonna realize that this guy is swaying back and forth. I'm keeping my distance. The other option is to just pass him up. Again, you just hit the strip. What is that called? The strip where it's supposed to wake you up. Patrols right there, but you know, you can't tell by just sitting there that this is a guy that's going back and forth. I'm waiting for all these cars to pass him before I even attempt to pass him. Just went on the strip again. It seems to be drifting right more than left though, you know. So I feel like we can pass him pretty successfully without getting hit. Just waiting for the other cars to pass him first. I'm still a good distance away from him. We're a good distance to pass him now. Let's get the hell away from this guy. Alright, it's an elderly lady and she might be texting and driving. I'm not sure what she's doing, but she's looking down at something and, you know, she's obviously not focused on driving because she's looking down. Can't say for sure if she's texting. Maybe she's trying to grab something. Maybe she's, I don't know what the situation is with her, but yeah, that is her reality right now. Because hopefully she doesn't crash into anybody or anyone, or any vehicle for that matter. The good news is she's not speeding. Going at a decent speed, but anyone who passes her is definitely knows that something's going on with her. So
that's why I admire Frank Costello. He figured that out. He said, in order to make this organization grow, I need to combine business, politics, and crime. And that's how I'm going to make Cosa Nostra what it is today. And he had a big part in that. If I had to meet one gangster now and, you know, just pick his brain, it would be Frank.
you guys ever watch Michael Francis, the former mob boss? He got locked up, but he's out, and he's got a whole YouTube channel and everything.
No, everything's good. I'm the first one who kind of said there was a difference between he and I. He was more gangster, I was more racketeer. Although Sammy said he's both gangster and racketeer, you can't be both. Who knows, right? Anyway, he was right in pointing that distinction out, and I would have to consider myself, you know, more of a racketeer than a gangster. Why? Just the way it is, man. I was into making money when I was on the street. You know, I was able to use that life to benefit me in business. And here's what I will say. Obviously, you need both people in the business of crime, and Cosa Nostra, in a way, it is the business of crime. So you need both people because you're taking care of things differently than you would legitimately, obviously. You have different things on the street that go on, and, you know, we obviously took an oath to do certain things. But I can tell you this, if it was all about gangsters, there wouldn't be Cosa Nostra. It would have never lasted. Any kind of organization that you have, I don't care what it is, legit, illegit, you gotta have money to support it. Without that, you don't have anything. If you want to grow, if you want to have meaning, if you want to be an organization to be reckoned with, legit or not, you have to have money. And that's where the racketeers come in. And you know, I knew a lot of guys in that time. I was pretty active, you know, mainly because of the gas business I was involved in. All of you know about that, most of you do. I was really into making money, and as a result, I met a lot of different people in different families. And I talked about that in past videos. I met a lot of guys. A lot of guys wanted to get involved with me in certain ways, and it was good. You know, when you're known as an earner on the street, a lot of people want a piece of you, so to speak. So I got around a lot. But you know, one guy that I never met, well, actually, I might have met him when I was a kid. I think my father definitely knew him. I think I might have met him when I was a kid. That's Frank Cullotta. If I had to look at the guy that was the ideal racketeer, it would have to be Frank Cullotta. And he was one of the original guys that started Cosa Nostra. It was him, Lucky Luciano, Maya Lansky, Bugsy Siegel. They all know each other in their younger days, and they all kind of came up together, became very, very close. And, you know, when they were kids and they were doing street crimes, you know, Frank Costello got busted a couple of times. But it was at some point in time that he realized that that really wasn't the way to go. That if this organization was going to grow and be meaningful, then he had to make money. He had to get connections. He had to do things a little bit different. It wasn't all about being a thug. Well, from the time he got busted in the street with Lansky and Luciano and Siegel, it took another 37 years after he realized that it's really all about a racketeer on the street. He realized that this was the new way that he had to go. 37 years in between arrests. And you know, during that 37 years, he never even carried a gun. He didn't carry a gun. But he became one of the most successful mobsters in the history of Cosa Nostra. He was Luciano's right-hand guy. When Luciano formed the commission and the families, Costello became his consigliere. Vito Genovese was his underboss. So he was in the hierarchy of the family from day one. And he started to use the family's influence to make money. He was one of the biggest gamblers on the street. When I say gamblers, in the gambling business. I think at one point in time he had about 25,000 slot machines all over the country in various places that he put them. During Prohibition, they learned, and he learned specifically, how to use Prohibition to make money for the mob. And I said this so many times. It was the United States government that gave Cosa Nostra, gave the mob the money to become the organization that it became. Because they were able to capital, they're going to get, there's a black market, they're going to get their hands on it, and people are going to make money. And that's what happened. A lot of money. But more than that, Frank Costello figured out that, you know what, he had to combine three elements in order to be successful. Crime, business, and politics. He had to make them all work together in order to really make this organization, Cosa Nostra, strong. The one thing that he didn't believe in, and I always get knocked for this, he didn't believe in drugs. Now, Luciano, you know, they talked that he was involved in drugs. We know Vito Genovese was involved in drugs. Costello didn't believe it. And he said, you know, this is a dirty business and people are not going to like it and eventually it's going to be a big problem. He was right. He stayed out of the drug business. But he was able to combine crime, business, and politicians. And as a result of those efforts on his part, he really was a major factor in growing, you know, at that point in time, the Luciano family. It became the Genovese family when Genovese took over for a short time. He was very, very smart. He at one time controlled judges, politicians, top men in business. He controlled the Democratic leaders in New York, all out of Tammany Hall. They're all Democrats. They were easier to corrupt. That's just the way it is. You like it or don't like it. That's the way it was back during my day. They were easier to corrupt. Every politician that I was involved with, or that I knew that other guys were involved with, they were all Democrats. So you make what you want out of that, but that's the truth. So he was able to really combine all those elements and become one of the most successful and wealthy mobsters. I know people don't realize this, that ever existed. He was the model wise guy. That's how I look at it. If I had to meet with one guy and really sit down and pick his brain, it would have been Frank Costello. Now, you know the whole story with him. I think people know the story. He got on the wrong side of Vito Genovese when Luciano was deported. Vito tried to have him killed, assassination attempt on his life. Vincent Chingiganti was the assassin at that point in time. He went after Costello, shot him when he was coming out of an elevator, I believe. Thought he shot him in the head and dropped him. I think Costello did go down. Chin ran away, but what happened? He only grazed him. So Costello ended up surviving that. And as a result, you know, rather than get into this whole battle with Genovese, I think he said, you know what, not enough. And he was able to go and retire at some point after. He died of old age. You know, he's one guy that, you know, died of old age. And he had a lot of trouble afterwards. The government was on him. They brought him in front of a Senate investigating committee. There's some strong footage of him taking the fifth at that point in time. He did answer some questions. You know, there's a fallacy out there. There's a couple of things that people say all the time, and they really don't know what they're talking about. They say that mob guys are not allowed to take a plea. That's nonsense. Mob guys took a plea all the time. I took a plea. Okay, if you can get a better deal from the government and you got a bad case and they're willing to save you some prison time without cooperating, I'm talking, a lot of guys took a plea. Persico took a plea. A lot of guys took a plea. So I don't know where you ever heard that, but if you heard it wrong. Okay, and when you're subpoenaed to testify, you got to go. Now, you could take the fifth, You can get a contempt charge against you, but you got to go when you get a subpoena. It's up to you if you talk or you don't talk. And sometimes you talk in a way that doesn't implicate anybody. A lot of misinformation is out there on the street. I don't know where it comes from. You know, sometimes it comes from social media. Sometimes you read something, you're not reading it correctly. Sometimes something's just put in your brain and it's wrong information. But yes, you can answer a subpoena when you get it. I had subpoenas to deliver records to the grand jury. I had to do it. What are you going to do? If not, they lock you up and they put you in contempt. But strategically, you know how to get around these things sometimes if you can. So I think Costello, he was able to survive the hearings during the time when Valachi came around. And there was a lot of Senate investigation committee hearings on organized crime. Some guys took the fifth, other guys didn't, whatever. But he was able to survive that. And eventually he died of old age. He died in his home. He didn't go back to prison. He was just a really smart guy. And you know, there's a lot of, again, misinformation out there about my life. And let me say it again. Yes, you got the gangsters on the street, but I will tell you this. As a last resort, you want to use violence. It's a last resort. It doesn't solve things. It only creates more problems. And if you look at the history of organized crime, you know, whether it be Cosa Nostra or whether it be, you know, the cartels in the drug business, when you're into violence, eventually it's going to hurt you. It's not the first course of action. It should always be the last course of action. You know, I had a number of clubs out on Long Island that I had influence in or interest in for whatever reason. We would put bouncers in there. We would get big guys, you know, 6'2", 6'3", they look good. And I used to tell them straight out, the reason that we hired bouncers that looked big and were big and looked strong is so that they didn't have to use it. I said, if you got to go in and beat up everybody every night, what do I need you for? I said, just by your presence alone, the way you talk, the way you conduct yourself, you're supposed to calm things down. We don't want to fight in the place every night because eventually the place is going to get closed down. You're supposed to use your size and use your appearance and calm things down the right way. The same thing, there was a lot of times, you know, there was a reference made, I think somebody made a reference that I was shaking down Michael Jackson. There's no truth to that at all. What happened was, Norby Walters, I'll bring up his name again, and I know I'm drifting a little bit from the Costello thing, but I'll bring it up anyway. Norby Walters had the 1984 tour with Michael Jackson. I think it was the Victory Tour or something like that. Michael's father gave it to Norby, but Michael didn't want Norby to have it. And another guy came in and took his place, was trying to take Norby's place. So Norby told me about it, and I went out and visited this guy. And I said to him, look, Norby has this tour. He said, well, Michael wants me to have it. I said, but you're not hearing what I said. Norby has the tour, so we're going to have to work this out. I didn't threaten the guy, but he knew who I was, and my presence meant enough to him to where he said, okay, we'll try to work this out. When you got to resort to violence and you got to start killing people and beating people, it doesn't work, it goes against you. So that's why I admire Frank Costello. He figured that out. He said, in order to make this organization grow, I need to combine business, politics, and crime. And that's how I'm going to make Cosa Nostra what it is today. And he had a big part in that. So that's it. Frank Costello. If I had to meet one gangster now, you know, just pick his brain, it would be Frank. So that's it for today. MichaelFrancis.com. Join the crew. Join the inner circle. You hear me talking about it all the time, but it's growing and people are loving it. It's a place where you will be encouraged. You will be informed. You will be educated. You're going to meet people. You're going to network. Networking is so important. Join it. MichaelFrancis.com. Please subscribe. When you subscribe, you get alerts. You're the first people to know what's going on the YouTube channel. And thank all of you that have subscribed. We work very hard to put content in there. Hope you're enjoying it. So that's it for today. How do I always leave you? Same way. Be safe. Be healthy. God bless, and I really mean that. And yes, I'll see you next time. Take care.
if a woman wants to play a patriarchal role, that seems to be perfectly fine.
Stories about all these mob families.
When you got 5 different families out there, like New York, you run into problems.
You've been a tough guy since you were a kid coming up.
When I grew up, my father was a real tough guy. He was a driver, a wheelman, and it killed him.
And a killer.
Of course, about it. I think about the faces all the time.
How do you process it? Does it happen when you're sleeping?
It's done. It's over with. There's nothing I can do. You can't bring him back. He's then clean your dirty laundry. No, I didn't fall out of a tree. I've heard that term used so many times. If you've seen the movie Casino, the guy's head in the vice.
Don't make me be a bad guy, come on.
I didn't do that. Well, let's say Tony does.
Roll, when you use that word, that's like snitching. It's the same thing?
Exactly.
Yeah, okay, got it.
We got a big robbery. It was a bank. We didn't count the money as we were taking it out. We threw it in duffel bags. I was 18 years old. I've never seen that much money in my life. Then the bad news came. That's when I really learned about the Chicago outfit. Regardless of what you hear, this is true story.
So today we have another former Mafia member from Chicago that moved to Vegas to work with Tony Spilatra. Frank Cullotta is his name. And if you don't know who Frank Cullotta is, Frank Cullotta, if you've seen the movie Casino, Frank Vincent played the role of Frank Marino, which is really Frank Cullotta, and he was running with Joe Pesci, who played Nicky Santoro, which in real life it's really the story of Tony Spilatra. And there's a lot of different things we're going to talk about today, you know, a lot of different stories, a lot of different backgrounds, the difference between the New York outfits versus Chicago, and a bunch of other topics. So with that being said, Frank Cullotta. Frank, thank you so much for being a guest here on Valuetainment. Appreciate you for coming out. So Frank, you know, you hear a lot of different stories about all these mob families, New York, Chicago, all these different outfits. What was the biggest difference culturally with Chicago mob family versus the ones in New York?
You know, I don't know how to answer that question, to be truthful with you. We're a bunch of Italian people, if that's what you're looking for. And we stuck together. We had values, principles we lived by, and we had one boss. We didn't answer directly to the boss. We had several underbosses that we answered to. He was far in the distance, you know, but we know where the messages were coming from.
So you think, so that's one of the things I wanted to touch up on. So New York had 5 bosses, but Lucky kind of divided everybody up, and everybody went through the 5 bosses, and then they would come kind of work together. Chicago was under one boss. What do you think was the difference and the benefit of having one versus having 5?
One boss, one leader, let's say, it's not as confusing for sure. When you got 5 different families out there, like New York had, you run into problems. Everybody's got different things, different territories. In Chicago, there's one boss. You know what he wanted. He had different made men around him. They were called made men. And these guys had territories. So if you worked for one of these made men, you knew that he was getting the orders from the underboss of the head guy, who at that time was Paul Rico.
Mm-hmm.
He was the boss in Chicago from 1962 to 1972. They called him all the way to Rico. Ricardo went into retirement. But as soon as Rico went back to jail, or died, I'm sorry, then Ricardo takes over temporarily. Put somebody else to control things. And at that time, they used the guy Jack Cerrone. And then when Jack went to jail, I mean, he could go on and on. He used Joey Aiupa, another boss. And Joey Aiupa goes all the way back to Al Capone.
Isn't Joey also the one that ended up putting the hit on Spilatra because he was too concerned about what was taking place here in Chicago, here in Vegas?
Joey Aiupa was in penitentiary at the time for the Las Vegas scam. If he was out, Tony would have probably never got murdered. The guy that put the hit on Tony Spilatra and his brother Michael was named Joe Ferriola. We should call him Joe Nagol.
Why did they case of Joey Ayupo? A lot of articles talk about the fact that Joey put the hit.
Joey Ayupo was in jail. He was very close to Tony. Very close to Tony. And that's one of the reasons Tony became the guy he was, because of Joey Ayupo. The only thing I believe that Joey Ayupo was thinking about at that time was getting out of jail. I mean, he's an old man, they put him in jail.
Got it. Got it. So he was a boss in jail. So, okay. So let's go back before we talk about some of the Vegas stuff. You know, when I read a lot of stuff on you is, Frank, I mean, you've been a tough guy since you were a kid coming up. It's what I hear about. So coming up in the streets of Chicago, who were you in the streets of Chicago? Like if I knew you at 12, 13, 14 years old, who was Frank?
Just a tough guy that didn't take orders well from people. That had a sort of a complex about wearing thick glasses. At the time, I used to wear real thick glasses. So I had a complex over it. I'd fight this in a New York second, you know. And a lot of people would say, he's a tough guy, don't mess with him, referring to me. I never heard that, but later on in years, I used to know those stories.
So, and who were your parents? What did your mom do?
My father was killed when I was 8 years old in an automobile accident. He was being pursued by the police. My mother was a wonderful lady. She was a housewife, took care of us. She was 8 months pregnant with my brother at the time my father was killed in this automobile accident. And I had a sister, an older sister, 5 years older than me. My mother did the best she could do. She was left a little money, but you know, money runs out. So yeah, she never worked, so she had to find a job. And she was good. She never wanted me to be the way I turned out to be.
She never wanted you to
Oh,
go that
no,
route.
she would never take no money.
Frank, was that in your environment at all, or no? Was the mob and the mafia around you at all, or no?
Listen, when I grew up, my father was a real tough guy. He was a legendary guy. Everybody knew about Joe Cullotta. That was his name. So I used to hear these stories about my father. He never wanted to be connected to the Chicago outfit, although he did things for him. He just never wanted to be connected because he didn't want anybody telling him how to live his life as I was. See, that's the things I learned. I sort of wanted to be like him. He was a driver, a wheelman, and a killer.
And a killer.
Oh, yeah. He was a killer. From these stories I heard, of course, he's not going to tell me this. His friends, from relatives, not my mother, relatives, maybe distant cousins. So I idolized him. But he's what drove me to be the person I turned out to be. I hung in a neighborhood where I used to see all these old timers smoking cigars, had the fedoras on their head, trench coats, top coats, nice cars, never working, beautiful woman around them. I thought maybe this was the kind of way I wanted to go. To be like them, but I don't want to be connected. I don't want to be a gangster.
What age did you see that? At what age did you start seeing the fedora? You know, at
14.
At 14.
15.
And your dad died when you were 8.
Correct.
And when you were 8, you had a brother that was coming. He said your sister's 5 years older than you.
That's correct.
And so let me ask you, what impact did it have when you heard the story? You're 8 years old. You hear the story. Mom, somebody tells you dad just got into an accident. Cops were chasing him. What kind of an impact? Because this is a man you idolize. What did that do to you?
It hurt me to lose my father, of course.
Sure, of
They
course.
troubled me deeply. It really bothered me. The impact it had was not as far as getting even with the police or anything like that.
Got
None of that. I admired him. My mother always told me, don't believe all the stories you hear. But I admired my father, and of course I believe them stories. So it had a big impact on my life. I thought about it years later, and I think it sent me in a direction I went.
Did it produce any rage at all, or no? Was there anything like, you know, because of this, I'm going to want to be like my dad even more than I wanted before?
Well, I did see a lot of rage in my father. I've seen a lot of rage in my father. My mother was never struck by my father. He verbally screamed at her all the time because he was a very jealous man. My mother was a very attractive woman, very good woman. But my father was a very insecure man. And he screamed at her. He was particular about the furniture. I mean, and as a kid, this sticks in your head.
Wow.
Your mind is developed when you're 6.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm 8 years old. So, but I never done the things he did as far as hollering at females as I got older. Because I think I learned from that. Some people go the opposite direction. But I learned from that. But I still loved my father. And I never seen him stealing. I just heard stories about him stealing, killing people and stuff like that. And that was fashionable then for people to talk about stuff like that. And that was probably set me on my way.
Got it. So it was a source of, maybe inspiration, but also at the same time a way of life. So you're 14 years old. You're seeing these fedoras. You're seeing this lifestyle. You're kind of a kid that you don't want people to push you around and tell you what to do. You build a little bit of a reputation. What was the first experience on how you started getting close to the family?
The Chicago outfit,
Yes.
that family. Well, of course, I knew they were around all the time, and you'd hear stories about them, and then you see these individuals, and you would start admiring them. And then my friend that I started hanging with at the time, we were shining shoes together. It's a known story. It's in one of my books. His name was Tony Splacho, and he was a tough street kid. He had 5 brothers, and we got in a confrontation.
You and Tony?
Oh, yeah. And shining shoes, different territory. And then we come to find out that his father and my father were good friends from the old neighborhood, let's say. And we became friends, Tony and I. It's something like seeing a movie, but this is true. And we realized that we were going to be friends the rest of our life, which we were. And we fought together, we stole together, we beat up people together.
You fought together or you fought together?
We fought other people.
Other people, got
we
it.
never fought each other. There was no...
Was his father's reputation like your father?
No, his father, his name was Patsy. His father was a hard-working man. He owned the restaurant and the neighborhood, the old neighborhood, Grandin, Ogden. And he was famous for his meatball sandwiches. The reason being that my father and his father got along so well. My father used to go in there, everybody liked Patsy. One day Patsy told my father, he says, the black can, I don't know if you people are aware of what the black can is. There are a bunch of grease balls that first came here many, many years ago before there was a syndicate and all of that. And they used to muscle their own kind, meaning all the immigrants from Italy, take money from them. So they were putting the muscle on Tony Splacho's father, Patsy. They go around and they take money from him. So one day he told my father, he said, hey, Joe, he said, but these grease balls are driving me crazy. He said, they come here once a week. If I ain't got the money, they're threatening me and this and that. So my father said, what day they come here? And he told my father, says, I'll be here next Thursday or whatever day it was. So these couple of grease balls come in there. They couldn't speak English. You know, this is what I call grease balls.
What year is this, like 40s, mid-40s?
Yeah, it was, I don't know. I wasn't even in existence then.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
So it's prior to your existence. Like you're not born yet.
I wasn't even born yet. So they went in there and my father was in the back room with another couple guys. And they started threatening Patsy Splacho. My father and the other guys come out of the back room and killed these guys. Took them and dumped them somewhere, I don't know, but killed them and dumped them.
Two guys.
Yeah, 2 guys.
Okay.
From there, it went a little further. Then they went and got the leader, the head guy, and they caught him in a motel room. He went on the run, him and his wife. And they caught him in a motel room with his wife. They didn't kill the wife, they killed him in bed. And that ended the black camp in Chicago. That ended it. Regardless of what you hear, this is true story. That ended it. Then the Chicago outfit came about, right? Capone and so on. Then it started coming about. And my father was a recognized individual, and he didn't want to be part of any kind of an organization.
What was his reasoning for that?
Because we were all Italians. What do you want to bother your own kind for? Hard-working people that are selling fruit and vegetable on the street. And you coming from the same country these people come from, and you want to humiliate them and take their money? Do like they do. So he's got mad. He protected them.
Got it. Interesting. So then you and Spilatra start doing things. You guys are fighting people. You're doing all this other stuff together. And he also had a reputation. Said he had 5 brothers. And then you were. And when did the money making process start for you? When did you guys start making some real money?
Well, we were making money, you know, doing, they call it the bank route. You know, well, this was later on. But what happened was Tony always used to tell me, he used to say, Frankie, one day I'm going to be a boss in the outfit. This was his words. And you hear this all the time from
How old was he when he told me this?
We were about 16 years old.
Wow.
And I tell him, I don't want to be involved with them people. You know, I want to do what I'm doing. I was robbing, whatever, robbing with other guys. Then he said, well, when I become a boss, I'm going to make you my right-hand man. I said, thank you, but I don't want to be involved, Tony. And he says, okay. And when we were 18 years old, in one of my books, Tony come and got me and he said, we got a big robbery. I want to include you in on it, and Richard Gorman, Dickie Gorman, they call him. He was the guy that I brought around. He was a thief. He says, we're going to go with 3 other guys. You don't know them. I said, I rob with strangers. He said, that's all right. I know these guys. They're from Grand and Ogden, meaning the neighborhood I was born and raised in. So we went down there, and we met the 3 individuals. One of the guys became our boss in later years. His name was Joe Lombardo. They call him Joey the Clown. He's in jail now doing natural life. So we went and we met these 3 individuals, and then we drove, all of us, to Indiana. It was a bank. And I thought, well, we could rob a bank in Illinois. Why do we got to go to Indiana? They said, we're going to rob the safety deposit boxes in the bank, in the vault. So we cased it out. We cased it out for a couple of weeks. It was a very difficult robbery, very time-consuming, because we had to go to the building next door, through the basement, through a double foundation, and into the bottom of the bank, and go through the floor of the bank and go into the vault. Just like you would see in movies, we'd done it then. With tools that weren't as modern as they are today. And we got in there. We didn't count the money as we were taking it out. We threw it in duffel bags. When we got back to Chicago, of course there was 2 cars. I don't want to go through the whole thing. It'd take forever to tell you about it. We got to Chicago, we counted the money on the bed in this guy's place, one of the guys that was with us. It was on a full-size bed. The money was like a foot high. Covered the whole bed. All denominations and jewelry. I was 18 years old. I've never seen that much money in my life. 750,000 cash. And it was like, we didn't know the value of the jewelry. There was like $1 million in jewelry. And I thought, wow, I'm rich, I'm a millionaire. And we all thought that. Then the bad news came. That's when I really learned about the Chicago outfit. Joe Lombardo says, you know, I work for the bosses. I run crap games, dice games. He said, we got to kick in 20%. I said, I ain't giving nobody shit. Tony says, Frankie, we got it. He said, they'll kill us. We won't be able to spend the money. I said, I ain't giving them no money. Why should I give them no money? I said, we robbed the place. They don't know about it. He said, well, Joey's going to have to tell them. He says, we got to give it to them. So I says, all right, if that's one of the guys didn't want to give it up. I don't know whatever happened to him. I never seen him again after that.
Really?
I never seen him. I know that I got my 20%. I mean, I know that I got my money. The jewelry, we wind up keeping the money out of that. Now, you know, on jewelry, if it's worth, say, an estimated value of $1 million, you're lucky you wind up with 25% of it.
Yeah.
So, just to get it is all right. So I wind up with like 50,000. Now I'm 18 years old, 50,000. $750,000 robbery. but still, that's a lot of money,
In
right?
1956, that's a
That's
lot
a
of money.
lot of money,
A lot
you
of
know.
money, yeah.
So I was, happy to get it. And that's when I learned about what they should get. And then I learned again that I had to give 20%. I always knew it. I mean, another big robbery, the first Brinks truck robbery in Chicago history, I done with 5 other guys, an armored car. And we wound up with $360-some thousand. And then all of a sudden, we had to give another 20% to the outfit. And I told Pops Peanuts Pamsko, he was like one of our guys that put the score together. He said, we got to give the guys in Cicero 20%. I said, no, these guys are making money, they ain't doing shit. So I had to keep the money in my house until the 2 guys come and picked it up. Their 20%, they brought it to the boss. So that's the way it goes in Chicago, Well, if you make a large score, you got to kick in 20%.
What benefit do you get for that? What do you get in return for that?
You get
Protection
to do
or?
actually what you want to do, what I mean? You just can't kill people, If you got a score that's big, you go and ask them, hey, is this place connected? If it is, let me know, and they'll tell you, no, go ahead and do it. Of course, by doing that, you're letting them know what you're doing. The outfit. Then you got to kick it in. But if it's a small robbery, you want to be a bookmaker. As I said previously, I think I told you, that's where the biggest source of income came in Chicago, was illegal gambling, not drugs, illegal gambling.
Who was the first that got into drugs, or no one ever got into drugs?
Yeah, it's pretty strange, but I don't know if you've ever heard of it. They call him Mad Sam Di Stefano. He was a juice man. He started out with $150,000 on a loan from Paul Rico. He met him in jail, and he said, you can borrow me $120,000, and I'll make you $1 million a year. And he did. So when he set him up, when he gave him that money and set him up, they needed to have somebody with the Sam, because he was nuts. The Mad Sam was nuts. I mean, really a psychopath killer. So they put Tony Splaccio with him, and Sam's brother, Mario. Sam was so bad he killed his own brother.
He did, or he
did. His younger brother killed his own
Sam killed his own brother. Yeah. For what reason?
Drugs. He was stealing drugs. Sam got into the drug business. I'm not varying away from this. He wasn't a made man. He was making over $1 million a year for the outfit. So they protected their investment with him.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they knew that he got into the drug business, but they kept their arm distance because they didn't want that. That's a terrible thing to be involved in Illinois. But yet, they got the money. In other words, if the profit, he would give them profit, so much. I don't know what it was. I can't honestly tell you. And that's when I found out that they were dealing these drugs through Sam, only Sam at the time. And then after a while, the door opened a little bit, a little bit more. But the big bosses, it was more like bootlegging, going back to the bootlegging, right? Because there's a lot of money in drugs, but still, illegal gambling was more money.
More money in illegal gambling than drugs.
Oh, man, back then, I thought these guys are all multi-millionaires from an alcohol bootlegging days,
Let me ask you, Frank, what is the relationship at that time between the Chicago outfit in New York? And I know there was some stuff in Milwaukee and Florida and some of this other stuff, but mainly Chicago and New York. How did you guys view each other? How did the families look at each other?
We got along.
Okay.
That was their business. Chicago was our business. I don't believe that we ever I don't know if any time I needed anybody from New York to help us. Or I know Tony hung around with a couple guys from New York, and they were pretty nice guys. What he done with them, I don't know. I know there was one guy that was sent from New York. He was a young guy. He was sent there because they killed his father. His father's name was Louis Eberly. The son's name, we call him Louis the Mooch. When they whacked his father was a hitman in New York. The New York sent the son to Chicago with us because he was like wanting to get even for his father getting killed. So they sent the son to Chicago. I never did like the guy. As I was growing up, I can't stand him. He was one of the guys involved in Tony Splaccio's murder too.
In Vegas.
No, in Chicago. That's where they killed Tony.
Wow. He was one of the guys involved in it.
And Tony was his boss.
Interesting. So did he end up getting even with anybody in New York or no?
Who?
Luch. He never got it.
No. Yeah, he had it. When he got to Chicago, it was stole. You could open up these jukeboxes and these pinball machines, pick a territory. You know, you got to kick it in. So the kid was making a lot of money from it.
So Frank, the families are still, you know, the money eventually is going back to Naples. It's going back to Sicily, right? It doesn't matter if it's Chicago or New York.
I don't think Chicago money goes back to Sicily.
Chicago money never went to Sicily.
As far as I can tell you, no.
Why not? What was the difference between?
Why? They weren't running nothing over here. May have done it in New York, but they weren't running none in Chicago.
So you guys didn't go to the voting every 4 or 5 years, and you
They
voted?
what?
Vote. When you would go and vote in the family in Sicily, there was no one from Chicago was part of it.
Not that I know of.
Interesting.
I can honestly tell you that. Not that I know of.
Not that you know from Chicago.
I mean, I would have heard. I think I would have heard.
Yeah.
Because I was connected to all the big guys. I should have heard. I never heard. And maybe it was that secret that I should know.
Is Spalatra going to Sicily? I
No.
don't know. Or Naples? No. No, not a lot, or no, you never heard him
I
go
know
to?
he never went.
Oh, you never.
I know the furthest place he ever went was like Paris, the UK. It was for jewelry robberies. Jewel robberies.
Right, got it. Interesting. So when does Spalatra become a boss? What age?
He really got involved when he was 18. And I believe I'm trying to think of the year when he became a made man. I think it was in 1970, and between 74 and 77.
So
I'm not
mid-30s.
quite sure.
Mid-30s.
Well, he was born in May and I was born in December. So we're not that much of a difference in age. So I don't-
38. Both of you born in 38.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. So he becomes a made man, and at this point, what are you guys doing together? You're still running together?
I was in and out of jail. I got out of jail in 1974. I went in 1968. Admit, true story. I got framed by the government. Don't say they can't. Anybody can frame me. They were just so mad at me because I was beating all these cases. They told me, we'll get you. They framed me, and I said, you frame me. That's the way it goes. I got 15 years. Then a lot of things happened. A couple other people rolled, became government informants. And with all of these cases, they start testifying me on about the Brinks truck robbery, this, that. I wound up with 36 years. But they combined all the years. The highest sentence they run up concurrently turned out to be 15 years on the bump case, the case that I didn't have a case. So I did state and federal time.
15 or 6?
On the 15, I did state time. I did 4 years. They paroled me
Got it.
to a federal detainer.
Total time you've been in, how many years?
6 years. Oh, total time, 12 years.
You did another 6.
Why not? Yeah, 2 years here,
I
here,
see.
there, you know.
Anything for murder or no? Nothing whatever
No.
for murder. But obviously you've committed many.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Not many. I've committed murder.
Do you know the number? Like
2 directly, 2 indirectly.
2 directly, 2 indirectly. Does that at all go
One's
in
a
your...
very famous one.
One's a very famous one.
They called it the M&M murders.
Is this the one with Jerry?
No, it's the one with Billy McCarthy and Jim Moratti. Jerry, you're talking about Jerry Listener.
I'm talking about Jerry Lister.
Yeah,
that's a different one.
That wasn't as famous as the M&M. If you see the movie Casino, the guy's head in the vice,
Mm-hmm.
that was the M&M murders.
Don't make me be a bad guy. Come on.
That's a pretty tough scene to watch.
In real life, his head was jammed down in the vice. Face forward. Down. What's it down? I didn't do that.
But you were there.
Yeah, but let's say Tony done
Interesting. So here's a question for you. I was in the military, okay?
Yeah.
And in the military, you know, you talk to special forces, you know, Delta, you talk to a lot of these guys. Eventually, it becomes part of your job, where you don't necessarily look at it as, I did something and I killed this person.
it. Right.
How was it for you as a first time when it happened? Like, was it just kind of like, this is my job, this is what I'm supposed to do? Or was there a part of it where you afterwards felt guilty, thought about the family, the kids, people involved, or no, Cole, here's what my job is, I'm doing it, I'm good to go?
Well, I didn't look at it as a job. I looked at it as an order that I received. I knew you don't get no paycheck for killing nobody. You know, like there was, you know, you don't get a paycheck.
You get stripes though.
Yeah, I guess you could call it stripes or a notch. I don't know. I never thought of it that way myself. I thought of it was, if they come to you and they tell you, Frankie or Pete, I want you to kill Pete over there or Harry, you don't ask why. They wouldn't come to you if they didn't think you would do it. If you say, no, I don't want to do it, you're going to die. So they come to you because they know you would do it for them.
That's a very common, when you ask people who have killed, whether it's military or you ask gangsters, you know,
Like being in the military.
Yes, it's very much where I don't feel guilty because it's an order. I don't really do it. Somebody told me to do it.
But I try to tell people start, oh, like the military, how could you disgrace our military? I'm not disgracing our military. But that's the way you would take it, as an order from up above, a lieutenant or a sergeant.
So let me ask you, did it ever did it ever haunt you at all with the decisions on what you did? Did it ever middle of the night, you're like, shit, I really did this?
No, it bothered me. I mean, it's not something you really should do it. But after I rolled and seen the light, let's say, of course it bothered me.
Interesting.
And I think about it. I think about the faces all the time.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Till today?
Oh yeah. I could picture their faces like right now looking at you.
How do you process it? Like how does it happen when you're sleeping?
It's done. It's over with. There's nothing I can do. You can't bring them back once it's done. Am I sorry for my sins? You bet I am. You bet I am.
Interesting. So let me ask you. So at this point, you're in Chicago. You're doing what you're doing. At what point did you make your way out to Vegas?
I had several businesses going at the time in Chicago. So around in 1978 or the early part of 1979, I had a disco and I just got rid of it. And Joe Lombardo, remember I mentioned his name earlier?
Yeah.
Called him Joe. You didn't call him Joey the Clown to his face, you'd kill him. So Joey comes in my place and he shakes my hand. He said, congratulations. And I thought he was congratulating me because I sold a giant. And I said, yeah. I said, nah, I got another step I got to do in life. He said, what are you talking about? You're moving to Vegas next week. And I looked at him and I said, well, I guess I'm moving to Vegas. The reason why I knew what he was talking about, because prior to that, Tony had asked me, Tony Splacho, 4 or 5 times to move to Vegas with, to be his backup guy.
Was he already in Vegas? Or
He
no?
was in Vegas since 1972.
Oh, so way before you, like
Yeah.
7 years before.
Don't forget, I was in jail. I didn't get out till
That's right,
74.
6 years. Yeah, that's right. Got it.
So I said, all right, I guess I'm moving to Vegas. But I can't do it in a week, Joe. He said, do it in the fastest amount of time you can. So like in a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, I did move to Vegas. And that's when I knew that my functions were going to be in Vegas. Did I know there was a skim going on? Yeah. Did I know how it was going on at that time? No, I didn't want to know, but I did find out. Of course I didn't want to know. That's one more person that knows, that's one more person that can die. So what I knew what I had to do, I had to protect the hotels that the Chicago outfit controlled. There were 4 hotels. It was the Stardust, the Fremont, the Hacienda, and the Marina. 4 properties that we controlled. You know, in other words, they had a guy that put him in there. His name was Alan Glick. He was one of these rich real estate developers or whatever he was. I didn't know the guy personally. I just know who he was. And Lefty was in there. He thought he was going to be in there to manage the gambling part of it, but being that he had a record, he couldn't do that. So they made him in charge of entertainment, but he still was oversee the skim. All right?
Lefty was.
Lefty. He never watched them take it out. He didn't know. He just received the money. As I say on my tour, he received the money once a week, and then he would drop it off. And if you've seen the movie Casino, that's the direction it went.
Got it. And what ways did you make money here?
Pardon me?
What ways did you make money here? Obviously, there's a lot of different
What ways did I
opportunities.
make money?
Yeah.
There were several ways. When I came out, Tony told me that what my functions were going to be. To make sure nobody cheated in these hotels. To shake down bookmakers, guys that were doing illegal bookmaking, get them for 20% or more. And I said, well, these guys are connected. The guys in different cities. Don't worry about it. He says, just do it. He says, you'll see what happens. I send my guys out. No. Before that, I told Tony, these guys got to earn a living. If we muscle these bookmakers, you're getting the money. They ain't going to do it for nothing. He said, tell them they could steal out or they could do whatever they want in Vegas.
They could what?
Steal, rob.
From you, from them.
From
Anybody.
homes, businesses,
Oh, I see.
which
Got it.
was a no-no at the time. I says, you sure you got the okay from Chicago? Because of what's going on there, you know, with us and the money in the casino. He says, it's all taken care of. Your guys could do what they want to do. I said, okay. So I told my guys, and man, it was like opening up a can of worms. So we got that named the Hole in Wall Gang.
Yeah.
So I did my little thing, catching cheaters in hotels, muscling bookmakers, sending that money back to Tony. But what I found out in doing that, the first guy was from Boston. I went and put the muscle on him. I sent Larry Newman. He worked for me. He was a killing machine.
We found a faster route via I-70 West, which saves 2 minutes. If you prefer to stay on the current route, tap no thanks.
He also came in from Chicago.
Yes. I met him in prison. He was doing 125 years for a triple murder. He only did 11 years.
Where is he originally from?
Some suburb in Chicago. His father,
In Chicago.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
was a crazy.
right, folks, gas time. Got about 60 miles left till empty, so might as well fill up now than later. I'm hoping a gas station is around here somewhere. It's an IHOP here, Olive Garden. Yeah, where is it? Oh, they got a Best Buy. They got a Shell.
There.
Yeah, I see. Got an emergency room. Joanne Fabric, Sam's Club, Walmart. A lot of it's like your typical American suburb. Target, Staples, Old Navy, PetSmart. Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I think that's a BP down there. I need to use the bathroom too, so. Let's see the prices there. Good question. I will definitely let y'all know what the prices are. $3.26, folks, for a gallon of gas. All right, giddy up, folks. Let's get out of here. Juice Golden, no audio. Oh, there's audio now, folks. Let's resume this road trip. They got a vacuum here, they got air. Just no car wash. We're trying to go back over there. So, nice Silverado pickup truck. Got famous footwear here too. Get you some sneakers for shooting. I'm gonna resume listening to my everyone listens to Value Team. It's a great channel for all kinds of stuff. This one, he's interviewing a Chicago former mobster.
Kill somebody, shoot him. He would.
Okay, got it.
Was a crazy guy. Crazy.
Crazier than Sam Madman or whatever.
Sicker. I should say
sicker
sicker.
than
Oh
him.
yeah. Oh yeah. He was a sick man. He would kill anybody. He would do things to people that disgusting. I mean, if you kill somebody, shoot him. He'd chop him up and everything. He's a sick man. So anyway, I told Tony this, and Tony said, "Tell your guys they could do this, they could do that, and all this." I said, he said,
It is the first time I'm listening to a Chicago accent, and I'm trying to determine what makes a Chicago accent, you know? Like the way his father is like, yeah, he was my father. It's kind of weird.
He told me, sorry, back off of this guy from Boston. I said, why, is he paying up? He said, yeah. He said, I talked to his bosses in Boston, and they told me, all right, Tony, look out for my guy, and we'll cut you in on my reaction. So you see see the game he was playing? He tell him, I'll protect your guy. They tell Tony, from other cities, New York, everywhere, we'll take care of you, Tony. Make sure that nobody muscles our bookmaker. And that's what happened. So we used to go out and do this for him, which opened up the door for my gang, my crew.
My gay.
What's the biggest hit you guys had here?
The biggest what?
Biggest hit, biggest jewelry. I know you guys did a lot of different things.
Yeah, a lot of different things. A couple $100,000 in jewelry, maybe $80,000 in cash. But it was plentiful. In other words, at that time, people didn't report to the government their tips, and they keep the stuff in the house. I mean, I opened up a restaurant in 3 days out there. It's all we did was burglarize 3 houses.
Here?
Yeah, it was all cash.
And you had a restaurant?
Opened it up with the cash.
Did you do anything with Gianni Russo at all, or no?
I knew Gianni Russo. He was in the movie The Godfather.
He was in the movie The Godfather?
Yeah, Gianni Russo's a good guy. I told Gianni Russo one thing. I said, Johnny, you know what you are? You're the guys that portray me. I'm the real thing. I know. He's a good guy, Johnny. I was playing with him.
What year was that? How long ago was that?
78, 79.
Gianni was connected to Costello, though. Gianni, years ago, he had a relationship with Frank.
He probably had a relationship with him. But he knew us guys.
Yeah, and he had a nightclub here, I think, for like...
Yeah, I was in jail when he had it. He killed somebody there.
Yeah.
I lived at the Marie Antoinette when I first moved out there. and he used to date a woman in that building, Leanne Warwick.
Mm-hmm.
You see? So I see him every day, and I'd see her.
Why'd you live there? Was it intentional? Were you
I
kind
put
of
two
like?
condos in there
Oh, okay. So
when I
there was.
first moved out there.
Got it.
Then I was told I can't live there no more by the homeowners association because of who I am. The cops were coming there.
Constantly.
Cops.
Yeah.
They'd raid my place all the time.
Interesting. Interesting. So let me ask you. I mean, obviously, this thing's going. You're doing what you're doing. At what point did things turn for you? At what point did things turn with you and Tony? 'Cause I know FBI got involved. They started kind of watching what you guys were doing.
That never bothered me with the FBI being involved. As a matter of fact, I know it was like a security blanket. You know, who's going to hit us? Who's going to kill us? With these cops watching us all day long. What bothered me is Tony was never contributing to our cases, like financially.
It wasn't Tony's attorney, Oscar Goodman, that ended up being your attorney as well. He represented you, right?
He was a co-attorney.
He was a co-attorney.
Yeah, John Mama was my attorney. He was an advisor.
Got it.
That's all he did.
How was your relationship with Oscar?
It was good at the time. But Oscar got mad at me after I rolled, and that's his business. But I made a statement. He used to wear a Rolex watch, and it was a knockoff. It was a phony. So one day, when I was going to court, I didn't have a tie. So Tony said, "You got to have it." Oscar said, "Where's your tie?" "I don't wear ties. I wear sport jackets, you know." So Tony took his tie off. I said, "I don't make knots." So Oscar says, "I'll make it for you." So Oscar made the knot. And as he's making a knot, I'm looking at his watch. I said, "You got a phony Rolex on." He's because I don't want guys like you to rob me. So I said that, and it went all over the air, you know, after I rolled. So it embarrassed him. So then he said, "The guy don't even know how to make a knot on his tie. Who cares?"
And what is this in the 70s? Is this 70s, 80s, same era?
It was in the 70s.
It was in the 70s.
80s, the early 80s.
Have you guys reconnected at all since then?
Oscar?
Not at all.
There's
Yeah.
no need to.
There's no need to.
He
Got it.
stays away from me. When we were doing the movie, he was on the set. He used to see me, he didn't come near me.
Who would ask you the questions on the movie? Who was asking you questions?
I worked right with Martin Scorsese.
Oh, you worked directly with.
I sat in the chair right next to him.
So they were asking what questions?
Is this the way you break a hole in the wall? Whatever we did, you know, in real life, he asked me. So anything you've seen in that movie was directions from me.
Wow.
Marty sat right next to me.
And how was Pesci asking you questions? What Frank?
Pesci did too, and so did De Niro.
De Niro as well.
Yeah.
Got it. And they were asking you what?
Frank Vincent. Just how this guy acted, their language. Like one particular scene, they called it Vig. So I told Marty, "What are you saying, Vig?" I said, "We call it juice. You know, money. You know, you collect the juice, it's juice." And then they were saying something about, I call it merchandise, stolen swag. He says something about swag in the movie. I said, "What's swag?" He says, "Stolen stuff, stolen property." I said, "We call it merch, short for merchandise." So I changed a lot of scenes. The language, another scene, Frank Vincent said, "You jerk off," he said to somebody. I said, "Oh, Marty, we never use that term. We say jag off," just like it said, jag off. So Frank Vincent had to change the scene around.
Unbelievable.
It's the truth.
How was Pesci, by the way? How was Pesci with
Pesci
you?
was all right. I got along with Pesci.
Yeah. Did anybody on the set you didn't get along with?
I got along with everybody.
Okay, yeah. So it was a good experience for you.
Well, I never was going to become a director or anything, you know.
Sure.
I thought maybe one day it would do a movie. It never became that. And I was very close with Nick Pileggi. Very close to him. He's a good friend of mine, Nick.
So, you know, when you look at the history of it, you got Frank Costello, Lucky Luciano, you got Meyer Lansky, and you got Bugsy. And I know you and I were talking briefly about Meyer Lansky. How was Meyer Lansky viewed in this
Son of
whole
a
thing?
nutcracker, watch your speed. What?
You know, you watched Bugsy and
Did
you
you
kind
see
of
that?
knew who he was, or you watched the movie Mobster.
Did you see that?
See what?
It says, "Son of a nutcracker, watch your speed."
No, I wasn't paying attention.
It's hilarious.
with him, and he's playing this role, and Meyer low-key, but he made a few $100 million. How did you guys view Meyer Lansky?
How do we view him as
From Chicago, because he wasn't a
I
Chicago.
viewed him as a Jew that had a lot of connections, and he made a lot of money for the Chicago outfit and the New York.
In the Chicago outfit.
Oh, well, that's the way I viewed it.
Got it.
That's the way I thought about it. But that's the way I thought about him. And I gave this guy a lot of respect over that, you know.
So there was a lot of respect in it.
Oh, yeah.
Was he a feared guy or was he a respected guy?
Was he a feared guy? I never.
Was he feared or was he respected?
I respected him.
Frank, who were the ones that were feared? Names that were feared? Because it's a big difference.
Names that were feared?
Names that were feared. Names where you say, you know, this person was feared. Like you take Sammy, you know, you talk about the madman, he was feared. You talk about
Sandy Stefan.
maybe Larry Newman was a little bit off and he was a bit feared. Who else was the feared personality?
And there was a lot of guys. Angelo LaPetrie, Chucky Nicoletti, what's his name? I got that. There's so many names. I'm losing their names.
Giancana Field.
Giancana. Yeah, he didn't fear a guy like Tony Accardo because you know he would give the direction. Joey Ayuba would give the directions. Rica would give the directions on hits and stuff like that. There's this guy, Frankie Calabrese, that came along.
Frankie Calabrese.
Yeah, I knew Frankie Calabrese when he was nobody. Nobody. Believe me when I tell you.
And he was feared.
Yeah, Frankie come to me and wanted to get in the outfit. He wanted me to, excuse me. He wanted me to hook him up with the outfit. And I told Tony, and Tony says, we didn't want nothing to do with the guy. Frankie was a machine. He worked for a union then. Then Frankie became a feared hitman. And there was Harry Aileman. There was Butchie Petrocelli. There was
Lions Den adult
James Thorello. I could go on and on. There's a list of hitmen.
But there's a reputation of these guys that were feared. Maybe they were not the biggest earners, but they were feared in the streets.
Some of them were very big earners.
Earners,
That's because,
and
yeah, and hitters.
Got it. So you're falling out with Tony. I mean, when you read about it, you guys are best friends for a long time. You guys have been friends since you were in Chicago running the streets and you were doing the, shoe shining, all this stuff, since 12 years old. So when you read about it, you see the story when the FBI came and you guys were kind of going through it and you're not saying anything. You're not talking to the FBI agents. You're not saying anything to them. And you heard the recording. You know, what was it on the recording you heard that kind of threw you off? And
What threw me off?
Yeah.
I got locked up, and the first day I got locked up, I was in the county jail out there, Clark County Jail, and I received a visit from an agent, and he said,
Aubrey, time to meet up with your uncle.
we got information that there's a contract out on your life, and I told him to get the fuck out of the room. I knew the games that they play. So when he got to the door, he says, if we could show you positive proof that there's a contract out on your life, would you cooperate? I says, I can't tell you that. So I walked out of the room, this conference room, and they brought me down to, I was in that dormitory, and they brought me to a cell. I said, why you put me in a cell? And he's,
All right, where am I going? Cruise control off. South. Left 2 lanes. This part is the part of the road that's confusing, folks. Alright, I think I'm in the right lane. Now what? You can see the skyline here. Just, I believe this is Columbus, Ohio.
because there's a contract out on you. This is the Clark County Jail. So I went in, just before I went in the cell, they called me back out. And they said they want to see you back upstairs again. I said, I don't want to go up. They said, you got to. So I went up, and when I went up, there was a couple agents there. I don't remember their names. They had these reel-to-reel recordings and the earphones, and they had transcripts. And he told me, if you don't mind, listen to it and tell me who's talking at him. So I listened, then he interrupted me. He said, who is the voices? I said, can't tell you right now. I want to see. I want to hear the whole thing. That's when I heard the voices. And it was two familiar voices. And the one guy said, what's going on out there? He called him T, short for Tony. He says, it's not me. It's the other guy. And I'm listening to the other guy. He's got to be referring to me, I'm thinking. He's like a loose cannon. He's in the can right now. They locked him up. I can't control him. He should be making the bond pretty soon. He says, he's the one that's doing all of that? And he says, yes. He's then clean your dirty laundry. No, I didn't fall out of a tree. I've heard that term used so many times. So I put the earphones down and I said, I want to go back to the cell. He says, do you know the voices? I said, yeah, I know the voices. You want to tell me? It's not at this time. Are you ready to cooperate? I said, not at this time. I need to think about it. Lock myself physically. Then I says, if I do that, he won.
Anyone like suicide?
Huh?
Suicide?
Absolutely.
Damn.
Because I never was brought up that way to roll. To be not an informant. There's a big difference between being an informant and a witness. I never was brought up that way to testify.
And roll, when you use that word, that's like snitching. Is the same thing?
Exactly.
Yeah, okay, got it.
I wasn't raised this way. So I said, Dad, I can't do that. I says, first of all, I don't have the guts to jump myself. Second of all, if I did it, Tony winds up a winner. It's mean it's splotch. So I waited till the morning. In the morning, I asked the guard, could I make a phone call? He said, what do you need? I said, I need to talk to them agents that were here. He says, we'll get right back to you. Within 30 seconds, the door opened. I said, Jesus Christ. Room upstairs. I told them, you know, I'll cooperate. They instantly moved me out of that jail. Put me in a motel. I had armored guards everywhere you could possibly think. And then he started interviewing me, the one guy. And he wanted me to talk about murders, and I didn't want to. They want you to talk about murders first to show how sincere you are about being a witness, you know. And I said, this is something I've never done before. I says, this is a hard thing for you. You're asking me to do. I said, I can't do it right now. So I talked about other crimes. Then at the very end, he says, you got to talk about murders. He says, then you'll get your... I said, but he says, we didn't read you your rights. If we read you your rights and you talked about murders, then we got you to do that. So I had to take a chance. What was that? A chance. As soon as I said that, he got up and walked out the room. He's another guy will be talking to you. As I walked, that's the first thing out of my mind. Because I can't trust these guys. All my life, they're chasing me around, trying to kill me, put me in jail. All of a sudden, I said about murder. Another guy come in the room, talking to me, and I was friends with this guy till this day, the agent. Dennis Armley, his name is.
You're a friend with him till
this day.
Really? How the conversations?
I know his wife and kids, everything.
How do you talk when you talk to them? What the conversations?
We're friends. We talk about everyday affairs. We're friends.
Interesting.
I build up a trust in me and a trust in him.
Get out of here.
I'm serious.
You went to the FBI agent?
He's retired.
Wow.
Several of them. And several Metro cops that I'm friends with now. To this day, same guys that used to chase me around trying to kill me. We looked at it in a different. It was a ball game. We played. It was a ball game. They just had more people in their gang than us.
Yeah, that makes sense. Frank, what did it do to you with your relationship with Tony? Like, how did you view this friendship now of nearly 30-something years, 40-something years?
Destroyed me.
Yeah.
It destroyed me that a friend would do this to me. My best friend. I love this guy like my brother. For him to cast all the weight on me, it was devastating. You know, I never thought he'd do that, but he had to take the heat off of him because he was doing wrong.
Damn it.
You see, he got paid back in the end, right?
Took the wrong way.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's the main city.
I could go back to Chicago tomorrow and live there.
I took the
You
wrong
could go
way.
back to
You
Chicago.
bet you I could.
No one would do anything.
You bet I could.
Wow.
They knew.
No, I gotta
they
do a
knew back
U-turn
there.
over here now.
They knew. A lot of guys back there said, why would Frankie roll? There has to be a reason would cause him to do this.
Looks like some
He
possible
would never
crash here,
do
folks.
that. And I would never do that.
Once he got the hit, was there validation where your credibility went up?
My credibility with who?
With Chicago outfit, like, because they're not
I
40.
would never go back there and try to be a gangster.
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, so you're doing what you're doing, you go and you roll.
My
and then-
credibility as far as what I've done.
Yeah, meaning, so who's really the one? So maybe it was Tony, maybe it was you. How did Chicago view you and Tony?
First of all, they didn't approve of me rolling, which they never would.
Of course they would. Yeah,
They never would approve of it, and I don't blame them.
sure.
They wouldn't kill me if I went back there.
Yeah.
They knew I had to do what I'd done.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to sit down and have pasta and share pasta together. I don't have no fear of my life, absolutely none, of going back there. At one time I did, had fear.
At what point did that fear go away?
Took 23 or 25 years.
Oh, so the fear is a recent, like 2 decades that it's gone away. Decades.
When I went in, I've been 34 years,
Got it.
so 25 years.
Got it.
When I first put my first book out, that's when I opened up the door.
What the day Tony died, what was your immediate reaction? Who called you? Like, what happened to you when that happened?
I was called prior to him being found.
So you
His
knew
body.
this was going to take place.
I heard it on the news. I was in the witness protection program in Mobile, Alabama.
Oh no, but did you know that this event was coming or no? You heard it day it happened.
I heard it. I heard it on TV that the Splatro brothers were missing. I said, wow. I said, well, they're dead. I thought to myself. Then I get a call from the Marshal Service. The Marshal Service says to me, the FBI want to speak to you. So I go talk to the FBI. They come over and talk on, they didn't come over, we talked on the phone. That same guy, Harley.
Friend.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Asian. He says, Tony and Michael didn't show up for court. Do you know where they would have ran off to? I said, they didn't run anywhere. He said, how do you know that? I said, because I know Tony. I says, if I was a guessing man, I'd tell you they're dead right now. How do you know that? It's because I know Tony ain't gonna run. I says, I know it. Tony knows that you're gonna get caught sooner or later. I've been around this guy all my life, Dennis. I know he's not gonna run. He says, really? I said, yeah, you'll see. 4 days later, the body showed up in the cornfield. He said, where do you think they were killed afterwards? I said, they weren't killed in no cornfield. He said, where? I said, probably in a basement some house. Where? I says, either in Cicero, Illinois, or Bensonville. Why do you say that?
Excellent.
Because we got people that live in them towns, and you could do stuff in their houses. That was it.
Interesting. Years later, with Sammy the Bull, when that happened with Sammy, how did you view Sammy?
I figured the guy had to do what he had to do. I figured Gotti threw him to the wolves.
Similar story?
Yeah, similar story.
Yeah.
I never disrespected Sammy. I always felt as though Sammy was a man like me. I consider myself a man, and Sammy a man.
Did you guys ever speak or no?
Huh?
Did you and him ever speak or no? You and
No,
Sammy?
I don't,
got it.
you know. Sammy's got his own private life. I know he did 20 years, the
Yeah.
poor guy, you know. But that's how you get involved in drugs. You know, I don't know what the story is there.
Final thoughts before we go into the books here. What is the conclusion you got from living that life? Obviously, it's a whole different story today, where a lot of that doesn't exist. When you said you had a moment 2 years after you were, you rolled, what happened to you where you're like, you know what, this is not a life I want to live. I want to live a changed life. What were those events? What was that process like?
Well, you're around legitimate people, and you see how they, even legitimate people have a bad side to them. I start going to church and stuff like that. I was raised a Catholic. I went to Catholic school as a young man.
I went to Catholic
So I
school.
went back to the religion, and then I stopped going to church, and I just know that there is a God and a Jesus, and I do my praying. That's all. Hopefully, he's accepted me. Hopefully.
Interesting. Very interesting. Well, your story's a very, very interesting story, and there's a lot of different lessons in there. I'm always curious different about the Chicago versus New York and what cultures they have on the leadership style. But here's what I would say, if you're watching this, obviously you've seen on Vatican, we've done a lot of different mob interviews, whether it's Michael Francis, Gianni Russo,
Where's Papa Mike? He's in
A lot
Florida.
of different lists that we have, and there's a lot of exposure that we accidentally got into this.
Papa Mike is watching. I hope he records some iguanas for me. Let me tell you, there's a whole lot of iguanas in Florida.
Market. If you'd like to know more about his story, he wrote a book called The Rise and Fall of the Casino Mafia. We'll put the link below here. But if you ever pay a visit to Vegas, you do personal tours apparently. Maybe tell us a little about this personal tour.
I do personal tours, yeah. I put people in my personal vehicle, or I take them in a rented vehicle, and I bring them to all the locations in Las Vegas that we shot the movie Casino.
What?
The movie, and places where people were murdered, robberies.
That's crazy.
And,
He does this?
It's personal. I'm in the car with my people.
You tell the story about what
I tell
happened
the
here, what
story,
happened
everything.
there. Interesting.
And if they ever go to TripAdvisor and stuff like that, they get my phone number.
Yeah, we're going to put the link to TripAdvisor. By the way, even the Mob Museum, do you take them through the Mob Museum? Because I know your picture's on the wall at the Mob Museum as
Yes.
well. Did they go through that tour with you, or no? Do you go there?
I don't. I do speaking engagements.
Yeah.
They call me quite often.
Okay, got
And
it.
I do speaking engagements there.
So what we're going to do is we're going to put the link below. We're also going to put his phone number below to find out about the tours. And if you, again, want to find out more, go order his book. The link will be below for the book. Frank, thank you so much for coming out. Really enjoyed talking to you.
Okay.
Truly. Bigger the pain, the bigger the upside. You could have gone either way about it. You have an aspect of your life that is linked to the mob, and then the other side is entertainment. You met every single mob boss in the U.S., right? All of them.
Every mob. I met every mob when I was a kid.
But you never actually joined the mob.
There's a lot of stories about me, people I killed and all that. I'm my brother, but he says to me, too bad you were never my brother. Joe Kennedy was set up an hour ago with Bobby and John, and they were going to film it like they did with Jay Garuma.
Before I tell you who I'm sitting down with here today, I just kind of want to tell you what Robert De Niro said about him. Okay, so this is the book called Hollywood Godfather. Robert De Niro says, Gianni Russo walks the walk, talks the talk, what a life, a worthy read, right? Now, before we even start the interview, let me kind of give you a glimpse about what stories you may hear about today. Marlon Brando, Marilyn Monroe, James Caan, Al Pacino, De Niro. There's a lot of stories. The people this guy partied. He had one of the best clubs in Vegas for 7 years that everybody would go to party. I don't even want to spoil all these stories. I want him to tell the stories to you. But today's guest with me, the one and only, from the movie Godfather, Gianni Russo, here with us. Gianni.
Thank you, man.
Good to have you on that.
No, it's my pleasure.
You know, I'm sitting here watching, getting ready to do this, obviously, together. And I'm telling myself, what you and I just talked about in the last hour, fascinating.
Thank you.
The amount of stuff you've experienced, it's crazy. It's like 100 people's lives into one life.
Well, I started very young. I was 12. Got the loyalty of so many people. And I'm still around. 76. So look how many years I've been doing it. That's unbelievable. And I did interesting things. I was not a person that I'd get bored if I wasn't changing my occupation every 7 years or something like that.
So I say, you know, or I'm trying to say what angles to go, but I say we start off with Godfather. How about we do that? We do God, I want to go Godfather, upbringing, story, how that was, and then how it led to post-Godfather, but I want to start with Godfather. So I've heard a lot of stories about how it happened when you got the role, right? You know, they're looking for different people to play Carlo, and they're thinking about who this guy's going to be, and then somehow, some way, you come out of nowhere and you start playing that role. So what is your version of the story, based on what I want to hear from you?
Well, that's probably the cleanest version.
Because what I've heard is craziness.
No, I always, on my ego, I still have a tremendous ego, and I had to drive, and I always wanted to be an actor. And I always heard, you know, your trials and tribulations, you got to study, you got to do this. And I figured, how am I going to get in? Then they came out with the book, and I had someone read it to me, because I can't read at that time. She read it, and then I knew they were having problems with the Anti-Defamation League, the Colombo family. So I, at the time, I had jewelry stores in Las Vegas, and I was doing, you know, all kinds of things down there. So I was doing my own commercials. So I had the camera crew. So I shot a scene for Michael, a scene for Carlo, a scene for Sonny.
You did all those three?
I did the three.
Got it.
And then I played politics, and I got to meet Betty McCarr, who was Al Ruddy's executive secretary. So her girlfriend got to meet her. I said, I have this test, and I was figuring, everybody in the world must be sending tests. How could I make this person? So I said, what kind of cars is that? She told me, look, Bentleys and Rolls Royces. I just happened to have them. I said, what kind of women? She said, it's Chinese women. This is who? This is Betty McCarr, Al Ruddy's secretary. And seeing who and how, what would attract him.
Got it.
So I got my 16mm reel of film that I shot, and I got the book cover and I wrapped it, and I got my Chinese chick. I had to find one. It was easy in Vegas. I went to the Tropicana Hotel, and the line had every girl in the world. I found this one Chinese girl. I paid her $1,000, which was a lot of money. And I had so much cash, I said I could get rid of cash at that time. I spent 3 days, drive in, rest, and what a wet look. This material looked like leather, but it wasn't. Made him a little uniform to match my car. And then I had Betty McCarr arrange for me to get a drive on. I didn't want it left at the gate. I said, I want to drive on for her to solve her engine. So we had another plan. So, and I made her give me blow by blow by blow. I was down the street. And so she pulls onto the lot. When she pulls up to Ruddy's building, he was looking at the Venetian flag because they wouldn't tell him. This car is great to see this chick come to your office.
He has no clue.
No, he didn't even know what she's delivering. And then she delivers this to him. They talk for a brief minute and then leaves. Unbeknownst to me, my test was shot on Ariflex film, 16mm camera, the Magstrike. That's before tape, before all that stuff. And I bought old film. So it had a sepia look. The color was destroyed. But unbeknownst to me, Francis Ford Coppola was trying to convince Paramount to shoot the whole movie in the sepia look, antique look. So it wasn't my test that they liked. They were sending it all around to see that's what it should be. So now they send me a letter. Because I read in the newspaper that the movie was unknowns. Like so many people said they were on this guy there. And it was all false. And they sent me a nice letter saying, we're sorry we misled you. Obviously, we went to a lot of expense to make your test. We're using actors. That's all. So now I knew that Colombo was using this book as the footstone to peel everything about Italian Americans, how it was shown in this country, and he was going to ban this war. We got it. And he had a big rally. I mean, thousands and thousands of people showed up to pick him. And he was picking the FBI people. And they called him in. Gambino and said, listen, understand one thing, you're head of the family. You don't pick the FBI people. They said, you better stop with all this bullshit. Like so many other dawns as we go through life, as I did, got out of order. So I, somehow or other, said, how am I going to get their attention? And I didn't have to do anything. I was planning to do something.
As a sniper, like being able to see something and the intent behind it was more personal. Every sniper kill that I had felt different. Some people say, oh, you get used to it. I never felt that.
Are you at a point right now where you can live your normal life and it doesn't haunt you anymore?
I would say I am now.
Who's the greatest sniper of all time?
Carlos Hathcock, a Marine sniper. That was my idol, and I think that to this day that he is the best sniper godlike figure. When he went in to go take out the Viet Cong commander, surrounded by himself, basically a suicide mission, when he attached the neural scope to the Bond's 50 cal machine gun and sniped and took out a Vietnamese commander 1.2 miles away. And that was
Audio sucks. Look at that.
It's just like in the midst of the clouds.
Take that one for me. Do a video.
Like a video.
Both. Like a 10-second clip. Ain't that nice, folks? Nice sunset right there. Gorgeous. London gangster reveals mob life in Britain. Oh, that's interesting.
I can read you quicker than you want me to. I cannot blame Scarface or a computer game or a rapper for my behaviour. You do actually get natural leaders and natural soldiers. And luckily, I am a leader. Yeah? If you ever get arrested while on cocaine, the hardest thing in the world to do is go, no comment. No, I'm not saying nothing. Okay, I'll tell you a little bit. I have a very, very scary phone book, man. Yeah, it's not what I can do anymore, is it? It's who I can bring up. So all of a sudden I had a 900 strong army. The more famous you get for being naughty, the less naughty you can be. Now my biggest threat to them is I'm making crime look glamorous.
Do you think you are, though?
No, I'm not. I'm not glamorising crime. I'm glamorising Dave.
With us, he is a different form of a bill collector. He is a collector. Some of you may be bill collectors. His form of collecting was in a different way in UK. He is known as the monarch of the underworld, the yellow pages of the underworld in UK. It's none other than David Ford.
Cemetery.
How are you, sir?
Nice to meet you.
Yes, it's good to meet you.
Good.
You have a very interesting resume. It's
Very interesting.
Very interesting resume.
And I'm afraid half of it's true.
yeah. See, that's what makes it interesting. The fact that if 10% of it is true, it's interesting, let alone half of it. So when I read up on you, you see the word celebrity gangster. You worked security with the Cray Twins. Cray Twins, the movie in America, with Tom Hardy. I think it was called Legend, is what it was called. They've done some other movies about him. Real neat
You need to
movies.
stop her now.
What?
You need to stop her now.
No.
You've associated with some interesting people in your life. How did you become a gangster? Like, how did you get into this world yourself?
I don't really think you can blame your environment of how you turned naughty. You can't say there was no green areas for me to play on and the classroom was too bad. So I ended up robbing a post office. You can't say that. You're born naughty.
But you're born. You're saying you're born.
naughty. Yeah, I do say that.
Oh, you believe that?
I truly
So you
believe
don't
that.
think it's
My mum and
association?
dad are God-fearing Cub and Scout leaders. Yeah, so there is no reason at all I ended up like this. I was born with the genes. They're just in me. I cannot blame Scarface or a computer game or a rapper for my behaviour. Yeah, it might influence me if I'm skint. I can't blame it on that because you are born naughty, and the people that are not born naughty,
You are born naughty.
to be naughty, they're the ones that ended up being snitches and cowards and doing the wrong thing on the day and making the deal with the police. And that word, celebrity gangster, that is a media word. Yeah, the two words don't go, celebrity gangsters.
Yeah.
It's like saying police intelligence. Yeah, the two words just don't go.
Yeah.
You know.
So, but I read something about at 9 years old, you had something that inspired you. Something happened that inspired you at around 9 years old. And what was it? What took place? Was there any specific even?
I can't actually get one event. I'm afraid, however cocky this might sound, you do actually get natural leaders and natural soldiers. Yeah?
I agree with that.
You got to know what you are as quick as possible and try not to be put into the wrong category.
Okay.
Because each one is exactly the same importance as the other one. And luckily, I am a leader. At a very early age, I realised that the art of delegation is as important as the days of the best fighter was the one in charge of the firm. That is very Neanderthal. That's a bit Conan. You know, Conan the Barbarian, you know, the most intelligent. Maybe he's a little bit not the sharpest pencil in the box, yeah, but, you know, and horses for courses. And I was very good at delegating who, what, where.
At what age? At what age did you?
Listen, you're born with that. Right? You can't learn that.
But did you? Are you the older brother? Or are you?
I'm the older brother, yeah.
So
I'm not massive family. One brother, one sister.
One brother, one sister. You have a lot of cousins? Did you have?
Yeah, I had a lot of cousins, but no, I was definitely the black sheep of the family. My biggest weapon that I have, I can read you quicker than you want me to. Sorry, I can read you quicker than you would want me to. And humour is of maximum importance to me. Yeah? Laughing, keeping it funny, keeping it on a good bounce in every single thing I do. Whether you're sitting outside the house waiting to shoot someone, you can either be sitting there shooting yourself, I'll just try and keep it good humoured. Yeah, I never know what problem is going to knock on my door 24 hours a day, and as long as I'm ticking over in a good, happy, bouncy mood all day long, I handle all them problems better. I'm in a good mood than I am if I'm walking around with the up. I don't do that. Yeah, most of the people I know do. I don't do that.
You didn't touch it?
That's not my thing.
Really?
Yeah, I'm
Ever?
not saying no, I don't do that. I'm not saying I haven't had a puff. I don't have a good drink now and then, yeah, but I've watched it turn heroes of mine into arseholes. I don't do that. And I don't ever want to be in the position where, because of what I tell people to do, it gets done, that I ever have to make a decision while I'm wired, yeah? And I went, well, just put an hole in it. And I didn't really mean that, just because I was flying.
Got it.
I don't do that. What you see is what you get, yeah? That is very unenviable way to live.
You're February 1759, is that what?
Yeah,
February 17th?
yeah, you're good.
So I watched to see, connect the dots, to see where does your wiring come from. So obviously it's not your parents, because your parents are, you said, God-fearing, you know, good people doing what they're doing, and you learn at an early age that you had the delegation part. So when would you say was the first time you committed your first crime where you're like, you know what, I enjoy doing it? Was there something that you enjoyed?
Listen, I never looked at it as crime.
Okay.
I was enjoying myself. I was being centre of attraction. I didn't look at it as I was being extra brave or I was courageous one year. I didn't realise I was gifted at having a fight until quite later on in my life. I never had to. I hung around with all the big kids, all the naughty kids, 13, 14 and 15. My friends were 20. So I never had to have a fight. They were all doing it for me.
How old was your first fight? How old were you?
Oh, I can't know. You have your fights at school and all that, but that's not what I'm talking about. But the first real battle,
like a real fight, like a...
Oh, the first real battle I had was with a builder one day in the pub who had the belt on with the hammer and the screwdrivers, and it just not the scariest thing in the world. Do you understand what I mean? And it was the first real man-to-man battle I can remember having had.
Now, you're famous for saying you can outfight and outdance almost any man. You've said that.
Yeah. But I cheat. I use a knuckle duster. Yeah, that's my choice of weapons. I truly believe in this. If you are someone that has to carry a weapon for your day job, a prison officer, a doorman, a deputy, soldier, whatever, you must choose the weapon that you are prepared to do the prison sentence for. Right? What I mean by that is if you choose to carry a gun or a knife, forget the time you're going to pull the knife and save your life. What will most probably happen is you'll be driving down the road, hit someone up the arse in his new car, he would jump out of his car, drag you out, stop banging you, and you would, if you had it in your pocket, go and get 20 years because you dented his bumper. Yeah, if he was walking around Tesco's and you trod on his foot and he just had a corn operation and he turned around and started beating you up and you had it in your pocket, you would go and get 20 years because you're right. So don't carry the weapon you don't want to do the prison sentence for. A knuckle duster, you will go bang, knock him out, and that's it. He ain't gonna die, his jaw will go over there, you might get 18 months, and I don't mind getting 18 months every time I have a fight. Well, I'm not gonna risk getting life imprisonment every time I have to fight somebody.
You're that calculated.
Well, however we want to call it, choose the weapon you don't mind doing the bird for. Yeah? And I don't mind getting 18 months here and there, as if I get caught. But because I wrapped mine up in plaster and no one ever saw that I had it on, they just thought I was the best puncher in the world, you know, knocking them out all over the place, yeah? And I run a big team of doormen in London just before the rave scene hit, so I had about 800 flat-nosed, bald-headed thugs working for me. So and I was like a job centre in the week, so on a Friday, Saturday and Sunday night, they were doormen. All week they just sat in the gym. So if anyone wanted somebody beat up, you know, the 8 guys all standing there, they will either do it or they will know where to point to get it done. All of a sudden I had a 900 strong army.
Reporting to you.
Reporting to me, yeah. And then the rave scene came in. You know, that's it. The drug scene came in.
What year is that? What year is the rave scene? Late 80s?
Yeah. Late 80s, yeah. Where you were earning £150 a night as a wages as a doorman. Yeah. Now they were selling these E's in the nightclub at £20 each. And it was the doorman that controlled that. Yeah, the doorman controlled, you can come in and sell them. Right? I get X amount of pounds for letting you do that, and I will do my job and throw everyone else out that's selling them. So I look like I'm doing my job, the police are happy with me, I'm throwing them out at everyone, but I'm leaving you in there, you give me £1,000 a night to sell them. And that way you'll have no other competition in there. So, and then all of a sudden you're earning 4 or 5 grand a night. So now it's worth getting involved in a drug war for, when it's people turning up going, I want to be the doorman with guns. We want to run this club. It's worth fighting for. Because you're now going on with £1,000 a night wages. Yeah, so you're involved in drug wars, and it all goes, it's a slow process, but it turned into that way. And then my army of debt collectors, car repossession, French squatters out, turned into an army in the authorities' eyes of drug dealing English gangsters, which I suppose we moulded into, but didn't set out to be. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
No one set out to be, I want to go and be a G.
Yeah, nobody does want to be a G, but sometimes, like you said something earlier. So, I mean, that's late 80s, early 90s. Let's go back a little bit. So let me ask you, say I'm in high school with you, okay? We're 16, 17 years old. Who were you in high school?
I was the funniest guy in high school. I was the cook jester. I handled the cook jester thing in the big gangster situations I've been in life-threatening situations I've been in. When I've been in the Old Bailey, at the Old Bailey, I went dressed as a cook jester with the bells and not the policeman in the court. Yeah, when I've been in prison, I've played the cook jester in prison. It's kept me out of trouble. I haven't had to hang around with the blacks, the whites, the Muslims, the non-Muslims, the hard nuts, the cowards, the gay. I was a cook jester, I was everyone, yeah? Giggly, jokey, laughy. When it comes down to being serious, then I can be as serious as anyone else. If not, I have a very, very scary phone. Yeah, it's not what I can do anymore, is it? It's not that. It's who I can fucking bring up. So
does that go all the way back to then as well?
Yeah, of course, yes. It's what you can call up. That's what makes you important. That's what makes you scary. Yeah, if I can call on the Russians, the Albanians, the Somalians, the Chinese, the Yardi, if I can call them up, I don't have to be a good fighter. I just get you up on my telephone and say choose a weapon, let me get to something. If you let me get to my phone, I don't care what situation I'm in, what country I'm in, if you let me get to my phone, I can you.
So choice of weapon has changed too far.
Telephone, 100%, 100%. Let me get there and I'll beat you.
Wow. Like you said, you have to be born with it, which is great, but you said something earlier. You said, I never touched the blow, I never touched the coke.
I never touched the coke, I've had a puff. I've done that, but listen, cocaine is the weirdest drug in the world for me to actually even understand. Right? Because any drug you take, if you take acid, you know you've had a bit of acid. If you smoke a bit of weed, you know you've had a bit of weed. If you've had a bit of amphet, you know you've had a bit of amphet, yeah? If you have a bit of cocaine and you go, all right, they say, I'm all right, nothing wrong with me, I'm cool. Well, I don't want to be cool if I've paid £50 for something. I want to feel something, but cocaine makes you think you're all right. You feel like you can shag everything in the room, but you can't get hard on. It makes you talk like a complete... Yeah? If you ever get arrested while on cocaine, the hardest thing in the world to do is go comment. No, I'm not saying nothing. I can't tell you a little, I tell you a little. Yeah. What is that? What is that? And they're walking around saying there's nothing wrong with it. No one who takes cocaine and you ever say to them, how do you feel? And they go, I'm out my nut. They don't say that, they say I'm alright. I don't want a drug that makes me be alright. I took it for something. And it's the only drug in the world that you give it away. You don't go up to the counter and buy a pint of lager and say to someone, you want half of that? Or you go shopping and get half your shopping and put it in another bag and go over that. But if you get cocaine, every time you go and have a bit, that's all they go, do you want some? And you give half of it away. It's the most expensive drug there is. And that's the one that you give it away. Before you even took it, you're giving half of it away. Do you want a line? Do you want we have a nice slips off and acid, you go off and make sure you find someone to give half a bit away to. It's crazy. It ain't got a bit of me.
We have a different perspective.
Yeah.
But you were saying, you said the reason you didn't do it is because you saw so many of your heroes and
so
people you love.
Like that,
so
yeah.
who were some of your heroes?
Well, I've still got some, but I don't want to go. I don't want to put them in the same category.
Of course, sure, you can categorize them.
Yeah. I mean, I was very close friend with the Cray twins.
Okay.
Charlie Cray lived in my house. I was his character reference in his last court case. He got 12 years. It didn't do very good. I buried Ronnie Cray. I'd done all the security for his funeral. That's propelled me into some naughty boy stardom.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I don't know what I think it is. I'll tell you exactly what happened.
Please.
I'll give you a little run in of how Dave got me through, yeah?
Sure.
I'm doing the doorman, yeah? I'm doing this doorman thing. I made one little documentary about, it's called infirmity. It was about a man preparing to go to prison. They filming me doing the doors. They knew I was going to go to prison. There were 7 witnesses against me. They had permission from the Home Office to film me when I come out, whether prison had worked, how many friends stayed loyal, and all that. And on the day before I went to prison, somebody visited all these witnesses and they didn't turn up. So they'd done this documentary of Dave Courtney, the debt collector, car repossession, rent a club, you know, and all that. So they got all the badness. And then it was going to be easy to make it look like I was a reformed character. So they filmed something bad. And then I got not guilty. But they didn't know what to do with the documentary. So they just put this documentary on the television 30 years ago of this raving lunatic running around doing all these things with thousands of bald-headed blokes all on his side. And what made me different is I'm multiracial myself. Yeah? My wife is Jamaican. You know, I have my own mixed race children. So at that time, white skinheads and black men weren't really genuinely on the best of frame of mind. So it was genuine, real racism. Yeah.
This is 80s?
Yeah. Early, you know. My choice of lady made my army multiracial. Yeah, they did my working for me, so I had 600 big black guys, 600 Muslims, 800 white fellas. You know what I mean? It didn't matter to me. You're on my side. If you Marines take on all guns, you understand me? You're all fighting for the same cause, but you're that. And that's exactly the same as what I am. My army grew, the reputation grew because of the documentary. The Cray twins wanted to get to know me. So I went to go and see them. I was running all of the nightclubs, the Stringfellows, the Hippodrome, the Ministry of Sound, all my drummers, and they wanted a little bit of it. You understand what I mean? To do that, they had to get with me. Well, I was a young, impressionable man at the time. Couldn't believe I'm going to meet the Crays. It's like, you know,
how old were you at the time first time you met them?
About 26, something like that.
You were 26 when you first met them?
Yeah.
And at that time, were they in London? Were they gods?
No, they were all in prison then.
Oh, they were in prison. Okay, got it.
Let me explain this. No one or nothing is as big as a myth. No one or nothing is as big. Not the Cray twins, not Dave Courtney. Maybe not even John Gotti Al Capone. But yeah, I mean, not as big as the myth. Or as romantic. The real nitty-gritty bit isn't the same thing. Crime is only glamorous in a book or on a big screen. It's not really. It's not really. It's propelled me into like a naughty boy stardom thing, yeah? So now the Cray twins died. Now I looked at that as the biggest and best security job, because I had a security company. I was ever going to get there, CNN driving around there. But, you know, and most criminals are supposed to conduct themselves like this. They stay in the shadows with their collar up, no pictures, no comment. You know, it's a dirty business and all that. And I chose the best 150 army that I could choose to do the security for that night. Mr. Glasgow, Mr. Newcastle, Mr. Liverpool, Mr. London, Mr. Brighton, Mr. Leeds, Mr. Manchester. These were, listen, when I see them all meet at my house in the morning, I wanted to invade Iraq. You know, I was like, you know, I'm too old to say that, but wow, it made your heart. Yeah, you're looking at them and it's like, I'm looking at it as the best show of force you can get. They're all coming there to show respect to the bloody Cray, yeah. You know, the sort of the people there, and I needed a proper little 150.
3/4 of a million. 3/4 of a million people.
Come to see when he Cray. When his lady died in Winston Churchill, and I had a meeting with the chief of police. And you know, they say things in your life you wish you could cut your own. You should never say it.
Sure.
My big one was I had a meeting with the chief of police at the time, and I was sitting there talking about security. And I'm a little cocky actually, and he was sitting there with Charlie Cray and myself. He said, well, the one thing you've got, Mr. Courtney, that we've got, Mr. Courtney, that you haven't, that your little band of men haven't got. I went, hold on a minute, his voice like that. I said, the truth is, I'm only trying to help you. I said, the church holds 250 people. There's going to be a million out there. If you don't know the right 250 people to let in, they are going to get the ump of that policeman, yeah? And if that policeman says, you can come to the hole in the ground at the cemetery and you've got to wait outside, if you say that to the wrong person, they are not, you know, they're not policeman fans. Right? So I think the best thing you lot can do is line the streets and leave the security of this between me and mine because I know what I'm talking about and who I'm talking to. Who do you let come into the funeral parlour and kiss on his dead body, and who do you say no to? If you're saying no to the wrong person, you're going to get smacked in the mouth, mate.
You're telling this to them, to the chief, yeah.
And he's not liking it. But he can't argue with me or saying a bit nasty back because he's chief of police. So he has to talk to me. So he went, well, the one thing we have got, just to call me, that your little band of men haven't. He said, not everyone is a great chief. He said, there could be an assassination. The one thing we've got to well, he said, it's fine. Now, could I cut my tongue? What I said was, please let me tell you something. One thing you've got that we haven't got is firearm certificates. He said, you've got firearms. I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have said that because that made me an instant enemy of someone that from that day on he went and destroyed Dave Courtney. You know? Destroy anything he does or thing. That hurt me. That genuinely collapsed my new world in that comment. But for that day, instead of hiding in the shadows of the thing, I made it that the world is looking at this funeral, they're looking at me and mine to pick it up. Yeah, and I was determined to give you lot over there in America something to look at. You understand what I mean? When John Gotti got buried, I sat and watched all day. Yeah, you understand what I mean? On my telly, of course. I knew you were going to, so I made sure you had something to look at. But what I didn't realise is that the authorities, the police looked at that as the very first celebrating the life of another criminal as organised.
Let me ask you, at that time, was in London, was it public already that there was organized crime? Did they all know about it? Did they
but
talk
no one
about
knew
it?
at what extent it could be if it wanted to. Yeah, with the invention of the mobile phone and the computer and all that. Yeah, but no one actually knew how organised crime could be until there was visual proof of it. The police might have had on little things of wow, but the general public was not aware of.
Really? So
one man could call up all the firms in London and England and Scotland and Wales and Ireland, the Yardies and IRA and Triad and Yakuza and all that. One man can call that up and all get them all standing on the side of a road to protect one man. Wow, we've never seen that before. And that made them go wow as well and put a little clamp down on everything that they've already done.
So that's when the populace started realizing who he was.
And the next day I was in the front page of the paper as celebrity gangster, heir to the throne. I don't want that title. Where'd you go after that title? No one runs off in the gangster world into the sunset or lives happily ever after, yeah? You get 35 years wrapped around you or a belly button in the forehead, you didn't want. I don't want that. So I quickly, just as publicly, tried to go no and wrote a book, Stop the Ride, I Want to Get Off. Yeah, I could see that because the more famous you get for being naughty, the less naughty you can be. Right? The more famous you get for being naughty, the less naughty you get. I couldn't even get out of my car and go back to the geezer in the car behind because everyone would say, Dave Courtney done it. I see him on the telly, I know him. I can't even be a debt collector no more. I can't run in your house and throw you all around the front room and threaten you and get the money off you. You'll go, Dave Courtney done it. I know him. I see him on the telly. I can't do it. There's different methods. Like if I then woke you up at 3 in the morning with a balaclava on, just like where you're lying in bed with your wife and another couple of geese with nice shush, love, shush. It's about that £700,000. Yeah. Shush, love. About that £700,000. I know you ain't got any bedside company. I'll give you a week. But babe, be quiet. Again, you owe him money, and I said it all went up again. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Did it hurt your business?
It hurt me. Crucified my business. They
Yeah.
closed down my door company the next day. They didn't hide it. They went into the nightclubs, and when you employed Dave Courtney security, then you won't have a license for a television, let alone a nightclub. Sack him.
That's the fastest way to put you out of business.
And they did it. They did it. You know. And then the school was saying to me, "Would I please pick up my children down the road because they didn't want me walking in the playground to collect my kids." So I was unnerving the other parents.
So how do you make money out of that? What was your form of making money?
Well, my form of making money was to them collecting the car repossession, the door company.
No, I know, but after that, how
After
did
that,
you
they crucified me. After that, they've done everything. So I then went into the entertainment world. I started doing a bit of films, made a couple of albums, wrote a few books, and it was all working because there was freedom. And when if they thought it was interesting, they could put me on as guest speakers on their show.
say there isn't today?
No, of course not. No. There's now a genuine law in England where you cannot glamorise crime. So if I gave my book to a book critic, he would give it back to me and say, I'm not allowed to do that. Any chat shows, any radio, my name is now flagged. If anyone goes to write about me in the press, it has to go to Scotland Yard first. And if there's anything, oh, Dave this or Dave that, it's non-listed, a law. I think it's 2.5 years old. Yeah, go and check that one out.
It's a 2.5-year-old law.
Yeah. You
Why?
cannot glamorise crime. Virgin
Cannot glamorize crime.
Virgin can publish my books, but they're not allowed to put a poster up saying Dave Courtney's got a new book out, because the poster is glamorising crime.
So how do you make money?
You know, I'm not making a lot of money at the moment. I'm living on what I've had. Yeah, I've got a nightclub in my home. I do all right with other countries, people like this. I do all right. I do all right. I'm more of an envoy or an ambassador. I'm no longer an active criminal. They're still on my telephone. They're still in, not last year, the year before last, I found 5 monitoring devices in my house. 5. The army came up and done it for me. 5. They're remote control. They were the brand new ones that they drive past and go bing, and then you can check your house out and there's none in there. Right? And then they just drive past and go bing, and you're live. I found one of my fucking bedrooms, forget all the gangsters heard in the kitchen, they heard me having a wank. Mental, and they haven't laid off me at all, because now my biggest threat to them is I'm making crime look glamorous.
You think you are?
No, I'm not glamorising crime, I'm glamorising Dave. Yeah, I'd have been a cocky postman. I'd have been a cocky milkman. I'm just having a laugh and having a thing. I'm not glamorising crime, I'm telling you now. Do not be a criminal. Hear me all that. I'm not glamorising crime. Today's a wrong time to be a criminal. You are not pitting your wits against the Sherlock Holmes policeman no more. You're trying to beat technology, and you can't f***ing do that, mate. Right? You can't do that. They're taking pictures of you from the moon. Nothing on the head. Don't listen to the computer game, Tony Montana, the rapper. Yeah, they're singing about something that's old, like cowboys and Indians, knights in shining armour, pirates. They're all romantic gangsters of the day, and gangsters are one of them words. There's no longer any. I'm not glamorising it, I'm glamorising me.
So do you think that's a good thing?
What, that you can't be a criminal no more? No, I just think it's history, and no, you can't be a pirate no more, you can't be a cowboy no more.
Not at that level.
No, you can't no longer be a gangster no more. Stop it, there's people in pinstripe suits now up in the city,
but how do you
making a couple of £1 million a day.
You're a calculating guy. You said, you use knife 20 years, you use gun this many years, you use, brass, that's going to give you 18 months, right? So you're pretty good. Cocaine, you do cocaine, you have to share it with somebody. You smoke weed, you do, acid, all this other. You're very calculating. It's very obvious. You're very calculating. So today, do you think the internet and what's happened, do you think that is making the world safer? Because I'm a person
No.
So tell me, so you're going to route them. The government has more control over the people than
I'm saying the government has every control over the people.
Got it.
And if they wanted to stop drugs, they could stop drugs. They didn't want all them criminals out there. They could stop the criminals coming out there. They need criminals. The biggest employer in America is the legal system. The biggest employer for the whole of America is the prison officers, the policemen, the traffic wardens, the solicitors, the judges, the hostels, the probation officers. Right? If everyone started not parking on the double yellow line, do you think England are going to sack 1 million traffic wardens? Do you think if they generally everyone stopped having crime, they got to sack 50 million policemen, 80,000 prison officers? They don't want that. They have to publicly be seen by that little box in the corner to be doing the right thing. Yeah, the computer or whatever. You understand what I mean? And
of course.
Yeah, they can convince England from the television to go over to another country and blow it up for weapons of mass destruction, and then go, sorry, we were wrong. Cough. If they can do that, they can convince you of anything. I've had them say things about me on the telly that I actually went to court with a bent policeman. And I went, I'm taping him, and he was going, no, he's paying me. I bugged him. So I got not guilty, and the cop went to prison. Excuse me, can I just hold myself when I say that? I went to court, the cop got 5 years, and I got not guilty at the old base. Right. But they will actually, rather than me come out and write another book and everyone loves Dave Courtney, they actually started rumors. I was an informant. I was. Really? Well, if I answer that with one word. Yeah, I've heard I might be an informant, but who? Can't go up and call you an informant. Who do you glass up? I don't understand the words. It's too big a word, or Wendy. Yeah, I've heard that said about me. That had it been believed, I'd have been shot. The police created rumour, or do they allow the rumour to come out of Dave Courtney pays the police? Dave Courtney's got the police in his hand. Yeah, they've copied Dave Courtney went to court dressed as a clown. The copper went to prison, and Dave got not guilty. Do you think they're going to allow that to happen if they've got control of the press, or do you think they won't? I'm asking you.
No, that makes sense. Are you familiar with the Donnie Brasco story, Joe Pistone,
Very
where
much so, yeah.
the FBI goes to Lefty
Yeah,
and
go.
they say he is an informant, and
Yes.
Lefty doesn't believe it, but he ends up being an informant.
Right.
And in this case, you're saying you're not. What, by the way, what was your friction with, is it Frankie Frazier? What was the friction there?
No, the truth about it always is, Frankie Frazier's wife ran off with my doorman, and he hated my gut endorsement on it, even though the rest of the whole underworld, like the Ronnie and Reggie Cray said I was all right, Ronnie Biggs said I'm all right, Johnny Bronson said I'm all right, Richardson, Freddie, the only one that didn't say I was all right was him, because his wife had run off with mine. Yeah, and I didn't like him for that. Yeah, I went round his house and I went to go and batter him, but when I went round there, he's 78, he's 7 stone, I couldn't even hit him, he'd break.
What was that conversation like? You guys said.
There was no conversation. He shit himself. We opened the door. He had no teeth in a string vest. I went, I can't even hit you. You'll break, you fucking silly little man. You know, look at you. Oof. You know what I mean? I didn't want someone to go and shoot me. Just going, yeah, I'll believe the police. And then it went to court. I was found not guilty. So there shouldn't be no room. I was found not guilty. The policeman went to prison. I had the tape on and bugged the copper. What fucking more proof do you want? I went to court dressed as a clown and battered him. What do you want me to do? You understand what I mean? But he decided to go, no, I still believe the copper, so it made a little ill feeling, but not ill feeling enough for me to do anything. He's 80 years old. And had he actually, because he was a really big nick, he'd done 47 years in prison.
And
Right? Not
like
in one go, he got caught with every thing he ever done, the silly bastard. Everything he ever done, he got caught. And now he's done 47 years in prison. I'm supposed to look up to him because he's done 47 years in prison. I think he's an arsehole. Yeah, he's a complete knob. And that little myth about you go to prison and learn a lot of new crime.
I think this is a high school. There's a whole football field here and everything. Ooh, a fire station. See the gas station? See it? I don't know if it's behind us or in front of us or what.
I think I see a gas station there.
Alright, there you go. Speed limit. Oh, we got Tim Hortons here. What's that about? Any Canadians watching? We got Tim Hortons over here. What's that about? Turn right or go straight? Ooh, they got a car wash. Nice. Oops, wrong way. Double for me, please, Adam. Double what? Oh, double, what, espresso or something? It is cold out there, folks. It's pretty cold. This guy's like, I believe you're born naughty. He's born in my genes. Scarface didn't influence me. Or playing a computer game. I was born naughty. You know, I was a jester in high school. It's a thing here in Canada, 2 crystal sugars. Oh, okay. Well, now I know. Air view in there. There's your Tim Hortons right there. Yeah, check out the high school. Stebbins High School. It's nice. This left. Next left. It's the fire station right there. Riverside Fire Station, folks.
Feel terrible. No one had nothing. So they run East London. There was a little firm called Spoke and Understood English. Right? When the Cray twins were here, they spoke of a war, and all of our men had been killed. So there weren't a lot of men around.
I mean, I understand the point you're making. And he said he had 40 hits, right? In his career, he had some number like that. Is what you read about him.
It's not true.
Yeah, I mean, that's what.
Because I knew all the people that grew up in his era.
Yeah.
The pulling the people's teeth out is all a fuck. It's all not real. It never ever happened.
That's part of the myth.
It's all never happened.
So let me ask you. He came during the era of the Cray brothers, the Cray twins. So who were the Cray twins in London? How were they viewed?
They was on East London.
Okay.
It was a lot easier to be an hard nut then because there weren't a lot of great men around. We just come out of a war and all of our men had been killed. So there weren't a lot of men around. Do you understand what I mean?
I understand what you're saying.
It was very poor. These two little brothers was in East London. It was quite easy to run Bethnal Green in them days because there was only 12,000 people living in East London. Now there is 750,000 people living in London and none of them often can't even say the name Cray Twin. Yeah, in them days they spoke and understood English. Right? When the Cray twins were here, they spoke and understood English. Everyone was skinned. There was no muggings and burglaries, and you could leave your front door key on a piece of string because who's going to break in your house? What the f have you got in your house? There was nothing in there to nick. Right? It was 1950. No one had nothing. You'd break in someone's house and leave them a fiver. It'd feel terrible. But no one had nothing. So they run East London. There was a little firm called, I can't remember, I'll tell you in a minute, run North London. And the Richardsons run South London. The nephews run North London, yeah? Richardsons were the cleverest by far. They invested in diamond mines and all that, blah, blah, blah.
So they were the entrepreneurs.
They were the entrepreneurs.
Okay.
But the Cray twins went for the glamour. They went for the headlines, newspaper things. They even borrowed other people's nightclubs to pretend that they were owned. You know, when they died, their mums all still living in the same council as they were born in. Yeah, one was gay and didn't mind saying he was gay, and if anyone said he was gay, he would walk into a pub in front of everyone and shoot him for it. And the other one was gay, but didn't know how to tell everyone, so he got married, didn't sleep with his wife for a year, and she killed herself. That's the truth of it. If I told you anything that weren't right, I'd get shot. I'm not talking to you about football or acting or singing, I'm talking to you about a naughty boy's world. And if I'm wrong about anything, I can't tell you this, can I? Yeah? I'll be too silly to it. I'm telling you, what I'm telling you is fact. And Frankie Fraser was a little bit of a dickhead. He lived in an old caravan on the Richardson's, bloody one of their breakers yards, and they came back with someone one day with a sack over them that they'd given him a clump. Right? Tied him to a chair, got Frankie Fraser to, when a beat was whacking him, like that. So they got Frankie Fraser to take the thing off. Right? So the bloke saw Frankie. When they let him go and he went to court, what he said was, I was getting beat up inside the sack. The pain was that excruciating that it felt like Frankie Fraser was pulling my teeth out with pliers. Right? Full stop. When they reported the story in the morning to the public and the jury before the case ended, then you've got carte blanche as a journalist, can't you? You can start that conversation wherever you want. And as they went, he said, and Frankie Fraser was pulling my teeth out with pliers. Stop. Now, it suited the Richardsons to let the rest of the world think that they had a torturer, and it suited Frankie Fraser for the rest of the world to think he was connected to the Richardsons, because he's a midget, little skinny, 10 stone really wet, and it suited him to let him think he was criminally collected, and it suited them to think that they had a torturer. They didn't have to actually hang around with him because he was in prison for 47 years, so it just suited everyone. And then when he left, he come out and he's so deluded that on the cover of his book, he's 78, instead of sitting there with the Globe in a library and talking about crime like that, he actually went thinking he was still a scary false, you know, like a complete and utter fucking knob. Yeah? Sorry, you can see I really don't like the guy, yeah, but I'm not saying anything that is a lie. And if, because I've been saying it about him for 20 years while he was alive, had anything that anyone believed about him was true, I wouldn't be allowed to say it. Yeah? Something would have happened to me had it been true what he was saying about himself.
What myth about the Craig twins was true? Were they feared? Were they?
Oh, they were definitely feared. Yeah, they were a naughty bit of work, but they wasn't as well organised or as well feared as was still possible. They were in East London, a postcode.
Yeah.
Yeah, that postcode. You understand what I mean? We've got the same little postcode was now, but
yeah, you're saying 700,000 now. Back then it was 12,000. That's a big difference.
Yeah.
So, who else would be some of your heroes? Would you also look for us like a Gotti or some of those things?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, this is what happened.
You kind of have a little bit of
my businessman in their villa with 5 circles, 5 men. So me and him goes to sleep. And we get there, and it's the you know, we only see them on telly. Yeah, the man for the week. Come from Peckham. You know what I mean? Yeah, we think they're bad. We only see them on telly. Yeah. But these are the bad ones. And it was Berlusconi before he was and all these other people that I didn't know who they were. It was fucking mental for me. And he was talking in broken English, which makes it all sound gangster to us. You know what I mean? Don't talk to me about gangster. I don't want $1 million. He's sounding like, I don't want $1 million bank robbers. I don't want $1 million murderers. I don't know any man who's going to pull dressed like that. Punch the copper in the face before he was sentenced. Tell me about that day. He said, because there is an unwritten rule book about going to court, and that goes around the whole world, apart from the Costa Nostra. I'll tell you why. It says, first rule, do not bring all your friends with you. He says, wear a nice suit. Yes sir, no sir, please and thank you. And a letter from someone that's known you 20 years saying you're a nice guy. They're the fucking rules of going to court in whatever country you go to. The only people that don't have to abide by them is us. Because the judge knows it's John Gotti. It's not worth him coming in being all fucking nice like that. Yeah? Because he knows exactly what he is and who he is out there. So they come into court gangster, right? They come into court like lucks in their pocket. And he went, the only person I've ever seen do that is you, mate. He went, so you tell me what made you go court like that with all your friends walking past the copper dressed as a clown. Tell me that day, I'll give you your money. Oh, yeah. So I told him that day, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, I must have done all right, because when I come home, he's now ended up being the Prime Minister, and the Italian bookshelf for true crime is the smallest bookshelf in the world, in any other country. Right? Because they got the fucking Mafia there. They're not interested in trade twin, the great train robber, the yardie thing, yeah? They've got the Mafia in the corner of Rome. Yeah, so they haven't got all the other different nationality ones like we have. Well, I ended up getting my book in there, which I thought was really great. Only because Sconey had then gone on, he's got his publishers.
Your book made it there.
Yeah, I've got it in Italian. So then the Gambinos, right? What happened after that? They're all doing their little bit of talking. And then Jay-Z put my picture on the cover of his album on Blueprint. I spoke to the Oxford Union and they wrote a book about it, and he thought that was really funny, a convicted felon teaching future Parliament how to behave. Yeah? They've got these talking to the Oxford Union on how to behave. That is funny, yeah? Educated funny. So he put my photo of the Oxford Union with his head on it. He called it Blueprint. So I'm sitting there talking to the future Parliament with his head on it. So that's happened. So all that's being talked about. There's a book out about it. And the Gambinos, their family, I don't know who they were, how out they were. When they come over, they have a 6-week vacation. They travel Europe, don't they? So they're all going around Europe, and they've got in touch with Freddie Faulkner, who's a superior in the crime world to me. I said, we want to go to the Ministry of Sound. That's what my doorman. So he goes, no. He said, I've got some. I don't want to go to the Ministry of Sound. He said, it's tough. Would you look after them for me? You know? I said, yeah, of course I will, Freddie, no problem. Tell them to come round my house. So these young kids come round my house, it's two, like, they weren't lumps, but they weren't their dad and they were too old to be their friends, yeah, you know, like. So they've had a wicked time at my house, and they've laughed and joking, oh wow, they've gone to the Ministry of Sound, they've had a fucking wicked night, didn't want to go back to the hotel, stayed the night at my house, I've got a big old house, had a fucking break. And by the time they go back to whatever they got there, they're going, Dave, yeah? Dave's doing all right out there in America at the moment anyway, with all the other things of Jay-Z and Rancid. I don't know if you've heard of the band Rancid. One of their tracks on their album. So I've got the naughtiest white guys singing about Dave Courtney in America. I've got the naughtiest black guys singing about Dave Courtney in America. I've got the Gambinos kids all going, he's been lovely. I've got the Mafia bloke who ended up being the Prime Minister of Italy going, good book, good book. Right? So now we're all going over to America. Right? Now we're going over there to do some... What was he going over there for? Oh, for the Virgin, for the book thing. And they ended up not selling it in America because I had a fucking picture of me smoking a cigar on the cover. Because the cigar was on the cover.
And they were not comfortable.
Yeah, I'm not promoting smoking on the just fucking hell, man. Anyway, by the time it gets over there, the Gambino people had heard I was coming. He's my pal, but he's a coward, yeah? He's brave in other things, but he's coward, right? But I live with him, he's beautiful, and the fighting thing and the gangster thing really ain't it. And so we get to the fucking airport, and these two blokes come over to us, and I'm with a few of us, weren't there? And he goes, Mr. Gordon, I'm going to have to separate you. That's a very important thing to do. You won't take it. So I'm ready to start screaming so they couldn't take me away. Help me, help me. So I couldn't get killed, you know what I mean? He's going, that's all right, mate, yeah, off you go, take him. And I'm like, sweet, see you later, Dave. Like, you know, that's what he's doing to me. But it's just Gambino, and they're taking me around to meet all these people I've never met before. Old men smelling a little bit like tomatoes, or looking at old black and white pictures. I didn't know anyone. I looked after their kids. Blah, 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 and all things like that, yeah, the grandkids and all that. Drops you back to the hotel, they're all coming out of the hotel, they're going now to Jay-Z's club. So we're going to Jay-Z's club, I don't know what it is. So the driver has got the car goes, I think, I don't know. So he takes us now to Jay-Z's club. I'm going there, I'm being honest with you, I'm buzzing. I'm not saying I'm not eating, I'm not the best shot, I'm not the best fun. I'm not. Scary phone call, that's my game, yeah, and I made up. So he then goes, I'll take you. So he gets to this fucking club, there's a big bloody queue going up this side, and a big queue going up that side. And these doormen, English people don't come to me. I don't know where you Americans get black men. That big, I don't know how that happens. Like, they must really hurt their mum coming out. They must really hurt their mum. Because it's like, man, is that for real? You know, I can't imagine that.
This is in New York?
In New York, yeah. It's crazy. Anyway, so then he pulls up, he goes, wait a minute. And he just runs up the stairs, talks to the doorman, and they went, oh, come up. So when we come up, they just let me straight in, and I was going to go and in my coat up. So I'm waking up my coat, so I just give him that man over there. And as I'm walking up to give him my coat, he's getting back to him. And he told me, and he goes, I don't know who the f*** you are, man. I don't know who the f***. Because when you get the Gambino's dropping in my fields, a cab, I'm f***ing being nice to the guy. And I'm like, wow. And it just sort of grew from something that was like a trick. It's not a trick, you know what I mean? Like, all of that happened in a... I couldn't have planned it. I couldn't have planned all of that. Going to Sicily, get my book out over there, JC put me on the cover of his thing, Gambino to take the key. I couldn't have planned all that, you know what I mean? You couldn't, but it ended up like that.
That's amazing. That's amazing when you read about the Cray twins. It goes back to how Sinatra used to come here and he used to ask them to hire their security.
That's right.
Judy Garland used to come and do things with them. I mean,
they were publicity, they were prostitutes for publicity. Their myth.
Oh, they were prostitutes for publicity?
For publicity. Yeah, they were prostitutes for publicity.
Right.
Yeah, they courted the press massively, you understand what I mean? And that's what actually eventually got them caught, you understand what I mean? That's what, they run away and believed in all that, they run away and believed their own hype. Yeah, in reality, when they died, between them all, they never had £50,000. It wasn't, they never had 50 grand. And they didn't own a house, their mum lived in the same house.
How does that happen? I mean,
well, they just didn't want money, they wanted fame.
More than they did money.
Yeah, that's right.
And the Richardsons wanted the money. They had the money and the power.
That's right. And what the police and the press done is they made them two fight each other. You know, they caused the conflict so that once you two are fighting, it's easier for the police to come along afterwards. And, you know what I mean? West side, east side, they can cause conflict, and that actually gets them caught. You know, and then Richardsons didn't want the conflict, but they made all that happen. I actually instigated the very first time the Richardsons met Craze. After 30 years, I took Charlie Richardson, who got out of prison, to go and visit Reggie Cray with Fraser.
Oh, you set
the whole thing up there.
How was that meeting?
Yeah, man. It's like, well, you can see, I like talking, but that was just down. They had nothing. They all sounds like,
really?
Yeah.
Really?
Really?
Wow.
It was more,
like a level of, you saw a certain level of respect and unity?
Sorry, really. I'm sorry. Yeah, beautiful.
When did it kind of, not necessarily disappear, when did it kind of all settle down a bit here?
It all settled down here as soon as they all went to prison. They all got 30 years.
They all got...
What is not a good advert for British crime is on the day they were sentenced, their solicitor said to them, the evidence against you is so strong that it is impossible to get not guilty. Right? So the deal I've got for you is, if you want to go guilty, I can let the rest of your whole firm out. If you go not guilty, you are all going to get 20 years. You're still going to get 30 years. But if you want to, we want to have shows to bring them in prison, when they could have let them go. That makes me really funny. I'd be embarrassed to be an English They could have said guilty and let their whole firm go home. But they went not guilty and took the whole firm to prison with them.
Why did they do that? Because they still have power.
Yeah. Well, because they were too frightened to go to prison on their own. Outside of prison, they had an army around them. Inside prison, they were going to be segregated on their own. So they took their army in with them. And then after being in prison for just 24 fucking months, Reggie wrote a book admitting it all anyway.
Is this when he
became Christian. That's all. But that was just part of the course. There was nothing else to do. He became openly gay in prison. and all that. And then the Christian bit was to hopefully give him a little bit of leeway that they might let him out. It's the only thing he had left to do to say I'm a nice bloke now. You understand what I mean? It was so Christian. His whole firm, which I knew well, which were all good friends of mine, were gobsmacked. They've just got 20 years, he got 10 years. Right? They know that he'd been offered the deal to go guilty and we'll let your firm off. None of the firms can really say to him, go guilty, go guilty, go guilty, because every man's got the right to try and win a court case. But I was thinking, you know, so they lived with it, even though he didn't go guilty, they all went to prison. And then I think it was 24 or 36 months after that, he wrote a book admitting it anyway. So they all went, what did you admit it?
Did he drop everyone's names in the book as well?
Yeah, of course.
Got it.
Why didn't you admit it?
Yeah.
That you did it then, and then none of us would have had to go to prison.
Did the people turn against him or no?
No, because they're now locked up and they were turned into mythical characters. All of a sudden the East End started getting filled up with Indians, Pakistanis, Polish, Russians, Jamaicans, Irish, and they lost their English culture and they got all wrapped up in the romance of it, thinking it was all because the Great Twins went away.
Let me ask you this. You know how military has a code, you know, the Italian Mafia has a code, the La Cosa Nostra has a code. What was the code was there a code you guys lived by?
Of course.
Yes, what was the code?
I'm going to tell you exactly what it is. I'll tell you why it's not even on. England had just come out of a war, and a spy or a grass was the worst thing in the world. One spy is more dangerous than 1,000 men. Walls have ears. And all of that. So if you was a policeman at the time and you caught a criminal, come a snitch, you would get cut to f***ing ribbons and get killed for anything. If you was a policeman at the time, your job was hard. No one grasped anybody up. England was known as the Bulldog Nation. Yeah, you could pull our fingernails out and we wouldn't tell anyone. So we wouldn't tell the secrets. That was what England was about. Right? And then they realised that the war years had made a nation of non-informants. So they spent the next 60 and 50 years convincing you that informing was good. On every single television station now, on every single channel, on primetime television. If you would have said this to me 25 years ago, I'd have called you a liar. There was your program going, and if you see this guy, just ring it. Yeah, and then there's a thing in every newspaper, if you know someone that's working while clamming social, if you know anyone selling drugs, if you know anyone selling arms, if you know anyone that's drink driving, and they've made grassing acceptable and good. And now, if you get caught for being an informant, you don't get beat up in prison, you go in the informant's ring, where the other 20,000 of you are. So it ain't such a bad thing no more. So they have now drummed it onto England that informing is good. And then some bright spark has now gone, if your mum and dad smack your bottom, they banned the cane, which meant if you're a boy, get them 6 whacks across the arse with a bit of wood at the end of the day, stopped you being naughty. Yeah, getting a detention or told off or something. Yeah. Getting someone to smack you across the bum with a bit of wood at the end of the day, put manners on you, yeah? Mm-hmm. Right, they banned that, and now someone's just banned it that you cannot smack your own kids. If you smack your mum, if your mum smacks you, you can tell us and we will put her in prison. They teach the children 559-33214. They teach them the telephone number to ring if your own mum and dad discipline you. And that's the f***ing Hitler youth. Grass your mum and dad up if they smack you. So you've got no discipline at school and you've now got no discipline at home. Your own mum can't give you a smack on the bum. Right? So what chance has the kid got when he gets to 16, 17 and leaves home to go in a big wide world? He don't know discipline. And so what we're going to do out of you for today, you've lost that war, it's gone, yeah, because of that. And they now teach children to go and grass on your mum and dad if you get smacked bum. Or somewhere along the line.
All right, folks, almost there. Have a good night. See y'all next live stream, and there will be a replay tonight. Take care, guys. Hey, Canadian, how you doing? Take care. And Golden Marie, take care.